third down conversion percentage at 54%. And it's easy to see why. Nick Sirianni flipped the script to a run-based offense. Remember all those chants during timeouts at Sixers games? Run the ball. Sirianni got the message. The Eagles are now 5th in the league in rush attempts. And you've got to give the offensive line a lot of credit. With Lane Johnson back.
50 seconds popping in your ear.
Following the opposition, going to the second level, picking off linebackers, pulling to perfection, and double teaming at the point of attack. If they play like that, the Eagles have a chance to beat the Saints at the Link 2 years in a row.
In 2004, Heisman Special Team nominated was killed in combat. Our son Aiden was just a baby. Now I'm finished on 4th year of RPJ, and I work with TAP to mentor military families through grief.
Check, 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 check.
I got you loud and clear.
I'm just making sure I don't spike when I start talking loud. It is Happy Hour Friday here on the Sports Pass Live on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. What is happening, all my friends? We are live at the Fan Duel Sportsbook inside Bally's Casino, Atlantic City, for a Friday edition of The Bash. I'm Mike Gill. Josh Henning is producing today's show. He's back in the Matt Blatt Kia studios, and you out there. A little brisk day out there, Josh. A little chilly outside today after a 78-degree day yesterday. Hopefully everybody's enjoying themselves. We got a lot going on Happy Hour Friday, as we always do. Sal Paolantonio, 3 o'clock. Adam Caplan at 4. Pete Thompson will be live with me here when we go live on a Friday, Happy Hour Friday. Pete Thompson does the Happy Hour Friday segment live. Casey Joyner, One Thought Every Game, 5 o'clock tonight. And Jeff Kerr will close out the show with some NFL. Josh, I call it the clicker, right? I grew up in a house that called it the clicker. You know, most people call it the remote. I call it the clicker.
Same difference.
Yeah. My clicker was getting a workout last night. Not like one of your workouts. It wasn't leg day so much for my clicker, but it was definitely getting a workout last night. Like I had a physical, my thumb at the end of the night was in pain from all of the changing of the channels, man.
Well, tell me, where did you start and where did you finish?
All right. So 7 o'clock Flyers.
Nice.
Right? 8 o'clock Thursday night football. 9 o'clock Sixers. Also 9 o'clock West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Surrounding all those games, though, there was a plethora of college basketball. You had Louisville and Duke for the football. Mm-hmm. So it was just a barrage of things. Like I have YouTube TV, so you only have about 60 offerings.
Right.
Of the 60 offerings, I want to say like 30 of them were either a college basketball game, the NFL game. I mean, it was bonkers last night. I was just like, every time the commercial came up, I was flipping through. And then, of course, the Sixer game, you know, I'm thinking, all right, the Sixers are probably going to be lower priority tonight because I'm imagining they're in Denver. So they're probably going to get something in the air in Denver that Philadelphia has gone out there and just kicked the crap out of their sports teams this week. So you had the Sixers get off to a great start last night, and then that game kind of kept me in because they're beating the Nuggets, and the Nuggets had a little bit of a charge. They came back, and then the Sixers held it off, and then they end up winning that game in Denver. That's probably the most impressive win of the season for the Sixers last night. Very shorthanded, on the road, tough place to play, and they just beat up on the Nuggets last night. Great win by the Sixers. Great, good game. We'll get into that with Paul Hudrick a little bit later on in the show. Flyers, I'm watching that. They're up 2-0. When I flipped off the Flyers to go to the football, they're up 2-0. Then I go back, and I'm thinking, how are they tied in this game? Were they tied or were they well, they ended up going to overtime and lost the game.
Right. They
last night.
lost in the shootout.
Yeah, they were up 2-0 when I flipped the channel. Then I went to the football. Now, I bet the Patriots. I actually bet the Patriots up. I bet them up to plus 13.5 because I thought they were going to kick the crap out of the Falcons last night. So they were favored by 6.5. I actually bet that number up. I was so confident, Josh, that I took way better odds to bet them up to 13.5 last night.
Okay.
And I also same game parlayed them with 2 sacks in the game and under 44.5. So that was a same game parlay winner for me.
Nice.
Yeah. But, yeah, it was, I mean, and then West Virginia beat Elon last night, the big old Elon Warriors or whatever they're called.
Were you really worried about Elon?
No, but, it's one of those games early in the season. You're playing in, like, Charleston, South Carolina, and you never know. Like, you just hear Elon and don't think much of them. But there's a lot of those mid-major schools now that are pretty good. I don't know if Elon's one of them. Like, come tournament time, you might look back and be like, oh, like, for instance, Charles Bassey last night had a monster game for the Sixers. He was epic. He was all over the place last night for the Sixers. Charles Bassey played for Western Kentucky. Now, last year, West Virginia played Western Kentucky, and it was right around Thanksgiving because I was watching the game at my girlfriend's parents' house, and that's when I saw Bassey play for the first time, and I was like, this guy Bassey's pretty legit, man. And so I zoned in on him for a little bit more because he's a lot of fun to watch, especially in the college game. And then you find out that Western Kentucky is pretty good. Now, Elon is not even the size of Western Kentucky, but who knows? Come tournament time, you might look back and say, that Elon team was pretty good. Now, on the surface last night, they didn't look like a tournament team, but I digress. A lot of games last night, though, man. My God, I watched Oklahoma ECU. I was watching that for a little bit. Who else was I watching? New Hampshire against Providence. I zoned in on that one for a little bit. Yeah, it was crazy. It was fun. I this time of the year is crazy. Like every 2 months or so, you're like, this is the best sports time of the year, but this is really the best. Like you've got the NBA, the football, the college football is coming into the playoff time. You've got NFL playoff races. You've got the NBA getting around the Christmas time. You've got college basketball starting. You've got, hockey, which is kind of like in the beginning of their season. The only thing that's really not in play now is baseball. But you did have Bryce Harper win the MVP award last night. Now, you wrote an article over at 973ESPN.com because Harper won the MVP, and the night before, Wheeler came in second in the Cy Young Award balloting. Now,
right.
Corbin Burns won the award. I don't have a problem with Wheeler not winning the award as much as I have a problem with Burns winning the award. Like, I don't know that Wheeler had a Cy Young season. Like, he had a really, really good year. But it wouldn't go down as one of the best Cy Young Award winners of our generation. Let's just say that, okay?
No, it wouldn't. But the reason why he didn't win the award is disgraceful. Because for those who don't know, and you can see the chart I put at 973ESPN.com, Wheeler received 1 fifth-place vote and fewer second-place votes. And that's why he was 10 points short of Burns. Even though every stat he had was better than Corbin Burns, some subjective jerk decided to tally Wheeler lower, and that's why he lost the Cy Young.
Huh. Now, where was that guy from?
We don't know. It's anonymous. Some anonymous turd out there can't put his name on the vote.
It's a great word to describe a guy who didn't do his job well.
I mean, how on earth do
An
you
anonymous
look at
turd?
Think about this. How do you look at Zach Wheeler, who led the National League in innings pitched, strikeouts, shutouts, complete games, and wins above replacement, and say, you know what? He's not second. He's not third. He's not fourth. He's fifth in the Cy Young ballot.
Yeah, well, I saw that. So Bryce Harper won the MVP award, and it was a pretty close race last night, right?
Yes.
So I saw that Kevin Kincaid over at Crossing Broad was giving Jim Salisbury of NBC Philadelphia a little bit of grief because he voted for Juan Soto.
Right.
He gave him an 8th place vote.
Yeah. And then Jim Salisbury gets to interview Bryce Harper in an exclusive interview afterwards.
Well, I've been watching this conversation go back and forth. And Salisbury, to me, I can understand his point, actually. Now, he didn't make the point. He has other staffers kind of chiming in on this, and they are making the point kind of for him, I guess, which is Salisbury looks at the MVP in a way that but it's kind of contradictory almost, but I understand his point, okay? Bear with me for a second.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm reading some of these tweets, and if you go through the conversation, it's between Kevin Kincaid of Crossing Broad, and then there's a bunch of guys, I think, at work at NBC Sports that kind of chimed in. One of the things was that Salisbury values a player who's in a pennant race, and that Soto's team essentially quit after July, and they were out of it. And Tatis's team essentially basically fell out of the race. So that how could you have these guys be MVP award winners if they weren't good enough to keep their team in the race? He's essentially saying that Harper kept his team in the race. Yeah, they didn't win, but they were in the race longer than those guys.
Right. And also, but doesn't this also get back to what is the definition of these awards? Like, isn't most valuable player supposed to be who's most valuable? But instead,
no, see, I agree a little bit with Salisbury. Like, I don't like a guy winning the MVP award from a team that is not in the playoff race. Like,
well,
then
you should hate Ohtani being a unanimous.
Yeah,
MVP.
I don't like Ohtani being the MVP. I understand he might have had the best season, but he's not most valuable to his team. I mean, it's hard to say. Is he most valuable to his team? Well, what's his team record if he's not on it? Are they a 50-win team without him? I don't know how to quantify that. Well, by the way, somebody said a message on the video stream, Jason Downing, a great listener of ours. He said that the guy from Milwaukee actually showed his ballot, and he's the one who voted for Wheeler fifth.
Well, then that guy's the turd. Then we have a name for the turd. Then,
right?
Because
forget the fact that he's the turd. It's the fact of where he's from. He's from Milwaukee. Who won the award? Corbin Burns. Who pitches for
Milwaukee.
Right, that's a problem.
And by the way, don't forget, Woodruff was also a finalist for the award too. So they had two finalists from Milwaukee.
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, they don't pick the finalists.
Well, the finalists are based on the actual voting.
So it was Wheeler, Burns, and who? Woodruff. They were the final three.
Yeah. Well, it was technically four finalists. It was because the way the voting broke out. If you look at it, it was Burns, Wheeler, Scherzer, Woodruff. Because the way, let me try to make sure I get the number exactly in front of me here. So the way it broke down was the three first place votes winners were Burns, Wheeler, Scherzer. Yeah. But Woodruff himself had a bunch of votes as well. He accumulated 19 votes altogether.
Here's a question I have for our listening audience today, okay? How many people know who Corbin Burns actually is?
Or Brandon Woodruff?
Well, Woodruff has been around for, I guess, 2 years now. He was actually good last year, too. But here's the problem I have with Corbin Burns winning it, okay? It's not that he's not deserving. He had a very good year. But Milwaukee had a six-man rotation, yes, which limited his numerical, his innings were way below Wheeler.
He also started 4 fewer games.
Right. He started less games, but his inning, his workload was way less than Wheeler was. I think Correct. Wheeler was like 230 some innings.
Wheeler was 213.1 innings.
213
led the
innings,
National League.
And Burns was not even over 200 innings.
Nowhere close. I think it was I got to double check. I think it was like 173.
Right. He wasn't even close because they kind of protected him in that rotation. So if you're in a six-man rotation, I feel like unless somebody asked me, and I didn't even realize that Uriah won 20 games. You don't hear that's unheard of anymore, right?
Right. Well, the problem with Julio Urias is that he won all those games, but all of his other numbers are kind of okay.
Right, exactly. But like if you had a guy in 1996 win 20 games, he was most likely going to win the Cy Young Award, right, because he would have been in the mix. But to have a 20-game winner not even finish in the top 5 is pretty unbelievable.
No, Urias got 3 total votes, and they were all 5th place votes.
Right. Crazy. Now, you have a guy who won 20 games up against a guy who was in a 6-man rotation.
Who won
and
11
the guy
games.
and the guy in the 6. Just think about that. The Cy Young Award winner won 11 games this year. Now, I know wins and losses is not a stat. Wins is not a stat but guess what? I understand that you can't control that, and now you take guys out of the games, of bullpen games, yada, yada, yada. But in the past, wins have mattered. Like, people voted for you because you were a 20-game winner. You won 18 games. Those things factored into why you won a Cy Young Award. Now you're giving it to a guy who was in a 6-man rotation and had 11 wins. It just doesn't seem right. Now, on the flip side of things, Bryce Harper, I don't have a problem that Bryce Harper won the award. I don't think Atlanta. Now, where did Riley finish?
I got to pull up that exact number. Give me a minute.
Well, he wasn't even one of the guys.
He wasn't one of the 3 finalists.
No, but but that's my point, is like Freeman didn't have an MVP type season this year. Austin Riley had like a hot end of the year, but I don't think he had like a Hall of Fame resume for the entire season. And quite frankly, Atlanta was not even a 90-win team this year. So you had the Dodgers almost canceled each other out. They had like 5 candidates, I feel.
By the way, I got it for you. So Riley ended up he ended up with 111 points. By comparison, Harper got 348. Austin Riley's highest placement on any ballot was 4th.
Okay. Well, that's my point, is Atlanta didn't have a standout guy. The Dodgers had like 5 standout guys.
Right.
The Giants, Brandon Crawford, I guess, would be the guy that would have been in the mix there, right?
Crawford had 4 first-place votes, 2 second-place, 1 third, 7th, 4th, 8th, 5th.
All right. So, but Crawford, again, didn't have some like mythical season. But
Correct.
Look at this. You had a team that had 107 wins, and they really didn't have a clear-cut Hall of MVP candidate. It was a really weird situation this year. The same with the Cardinals. I mean, Goldschmidt, I guess, was in the mix, right?
Yes, he was.
I didn't see the actual finish. I just know that Harper won.
Here, I'm going to pop it onto the screen for everybody here, for everybody watching on the stream here.
It was Harper. Soto finished 2nd and Tatis 3rd? Or was it?
Harper finished with 348 points. Soto had 274 total, and Tatis had 244. And then it just keeps descending from there. Goldschmidt had 1 third place, 3 4th, 5 5th, and a total of 128 points.
So, I'm out on location today, so I'm not getting the thing up on my screen. Everything's lagging a little bit here, but look, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, Harper didn't deserve to win it. I just don't know that there was a deserving clear-cut guy. Like Ohtani, though, numerically, he was the clear-cut guy, but his team stunk. But who would be the other guy in the American League that you would have given it to? That was the problem there, too, is there wasn't a clear-cut guy from one of the playoff teams.
Well, there were people who were saying that even though Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s team didn't go to the postseason, his team was in it to the very last day, and it was because of him.
Okay, see, that's right. And that's a good point. I forgot about him and the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays won, 90 games, 92 games, something like that. They were in it to the last possible day, really.
Right.
I would feel better if you told me Guerrero got it over Ohtani, and Ohtani was whatever award that you have for the most outstanding player. They gave that out last week.
Right. Now, here's the deal. So Vlad led the league in home runs, on base percentage, slugging percentage, and runs scored.
Uh-huh.
And he doesn't win the MVP.
Yeah. See, I would have no problem if Guerrero won that award.
By the way, the Blue Jays won 91 games this year.
91 games. They're in it to the last day of the year.
They missed the postseason by 1 game.
I would say of the American League playoff teams, he was probably the most, or playoff teams in the playoff mix. He was probably the most deserving guy. I don't think the Astros had a guy this year.
Nah.
The White Sox didn't have a guy this year.
Abreu had a down year. Tim Anderson was injured part of the year. That didn't help their cases.
Right, the Yankees didn't have a guy. They had a bunch of guys hurt. The
Here,
Rays
I got
certainly
the-
didn't have a guy.
I got the breakdown for you for the American League, by the way. So Ohtani was a unanimous first place vote. He got all 30 first place votes.
Right. Well, that was a foregone conclusion that he was going to win.
Right. But Guerrero got all but one second place vote. So he was right there. If someone would have just told the voters, hey, let me ask you guys a question. Are we voting for the guy with the best stats, or are we voting for the most valuable player to his team?
Well, this has still never been really defined.
Correct.
Like, that's why I say, I'm not saying, and I like Kincaid. He's a West Virginia guy. And I'll give him credit, too. He went right out and called the guy out by name and tagged him in it, too, and wrote an article about it. I mean, it's like, geez, you're really going after this guy. But I do understand Salisbury's take.
Right.
That Soto was on a team that was not in the playoff race. In fact, the by the end of the year, the Nationals were terrible. So I don't know. You might be a different type of mindset. Do you have the mindset as if you were a voter, are you adding into the mix the team's success, or do you not care about that?
I think it's a little bit of both for me. I think that I'm not comfortable, Mike, with the idea that, first of all, we had 2 MVP award winners and neither guy's team went to the postseason. That feels a little awkward in and of itself, does it not?
I don't. That's what I said, and this is why. Like I said at the beginning of the year, and I read. Go to 973ESPN.com. I wrote 10 things that would happen this year. Now, some I got wrong. One I got right was that Bryce Harper would have his best year ever as a Philly. Now, that's not saying a whole heck of a lot, considering this was only his third year here. But I felt that. And by the way, he had a monster year. Last year in the 60-game season, he had a big year. He had a pretty big year in his first full season, too. But I don't the Phillies were they in the race enough, I guess is the question.
I think they were certainly more in the race than the Nationals or the Angels were.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, the Angels were really never in the race. The Nationals were done by July.
Right.
The Padres, they fell apart in the second half. After August, the Padres kind of fell out of it. And by the way, after August 1st is really when Bryce Harper had his best month.
Right. And that's part of the question that people are having also, is that he's the second straight Phillies MVP award winner to not be an all-star in the same season. Jimmy Rollins was the same deal.
Huh. He is the 6th MVP, by the way, for a Philadelphia Phillies team. And the first one since Ryan Howard won the award, going back to what, 2000 and
Howard and Rollins each won it in the mid 2000s. But the thing is that Rollins was not an all-star that year, and as I documented 97.3 ESPN.com, for the full Phillies run of all those years, they were amazing. Howard and Rollins were only 3-time all-stars. Like, people forget how it's almost like people don't respect Philadelphia's athletes sometimes, because these guys are going out there having phenomenal seasons.
Well, I will say this. In the Howard era, which was kind of short, to be honest with you, it was like a 5-year,
6-year window.
Right. And in that time, he was up against Pujols. He was up against Fielder.
Mm-hmm.
There was Goldschmidt. There was a lot of other options at first base. So he had a very challenging position. There was other guys. Adrian Gonzalez was with the Padres at that time. So there was a lot of competition at first base. I don't remember the shortstops quite being as deep as the first base position. And Jimmy Rollins, quite frankly, he wasn't an all-star every single year. He had that MVP season, but really that was the one. People have talked about Jimmy Rollins being a potential Hall of Famer. To me, he was hardly even an all-star half the time.
He was only 3 times.
Right. So I don't know where people are like, have you ever have you heard, there are people out there that say, hey, Jimmy Rollins is like a Hall of Famer. And I'm thinking, what? Are you kidding me?
Well, there's that whole argument of which Philly of that team is going to make the Hall of Fame. The assumption is one of them, between Utley, Howard, and Rollins, quote unquote, has to make it.
Not necessarily. They won 1 World Series. Why does somebody have to make it?
Because people create scenarios in their minds for arguments.
Well, I don't think Howard's getting in. He was too short of a spurt. I don't think Utley's getting in. I don't think his numbers really merit it. He was, he was like a notch below, like the Jeff Kent level guy.
Right.
And Jeff Kent was like borderline. And Rollins, to me, very good, but feels like the guy who makes like one NBA All-Star team.
That's a little extreme example, but I know what you mean.
No, I mean like Andre Iguodala. Like some people think Andre Iguodala could be a Hall of Famer, and I'm like, Andre Iguodala's not a Hall of Famer. I mean, he had one, he had that moment in the he won an MVP of the finals, but Jason Downey asks on YouTube, do you guys think that Trout should have won MVPs or no because of the same reasoning? That's a good question. Like Trout obviously was the best player, but I have to go back and look at those years to see who was like the runners up, who was in the mix with them. But I would have no problem if you told me that Trout didn't win because his team was in last place, which I think he won on a last place team, did he not?
One of the years, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of against. Like, I know Steve Carlton won a Cy Young on the last place team. How's that possible? Your team's the worst team in baseball, and he won the Cy Young award.
Well, Cy Young's a little different because, you're giving it to the most outstanding pitcher, whereas MVP is about value and about achievement.
All right, got some Eagles news for you on the other side. Got some Sixers news for you as well. Sports Bash is live on 97.3 ESPN. Sal Paolantonio, Mike McGarry this hour. Sal Pal at 3. We are live at the Fan Duel Sportsbook here at Bally's Atlantic City, where they got a great beer wall over there. I navigated it. They got one of my favorite beers on that wall, by the way, and there's a great selection. The menu's outstanding. It's a great place to start your Friday night and your weekend right here at the Bally's Fan Duel Sportsbook, Atlantic City. We are here till 6. Hope you'll join us for this weekend. If you can't get out here this weekend, this Friday, Saturday college football, Sunday Eagles Saints, got Cowboys and Chiefs. We'll get through all the Sunday action right here on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. All right, welcome back. Sports Bash Live at the Fan Duel Sportsbook at Bally's Atlantic City. We are in the beautiful Fan Duel Sportsbook, which we just had a gentleman walk by, and he said, I need a winner. I need a lock, is what he said to me. I gave him Detroit. Can you imagine asking for a lock and the guy saying Detroit? I hope he doesn't use that lock. That's the first one that came to my mind. I said, how about Detroit? I think the Lions, 11.5, I think is the number.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel good about that either, considering it looks like that's going to be David Blau playing for the Lions.
Oh, I didn't know. Remember that. I forgot about that. Where is that guy? Hey, find that guy with the Yankees hat. You know why I gave him that? He had a Yankees hat on. He deserves a crappy pick. That's what.
He might be visiting from New York. You don't know.
He comes up to me, asks me for a lock. He's got a Yankees hat on. Of course I'm going to give him a loser. Right? That's what happens. You have a Yankees hat on. What do you have on? You don't have a Yankee shirt on, do you? He's got an Eagles shirt on. All right, take the Browns. Take the Browns is what I say. So I can't hear you right now. But I do like your Eagles shirt. But that guy had a Yankees hat on. He came over to me and he said, I need a lock, man. And I look at your Yankees hat. What do you think? I'm going to give you money, Yankees fan guy? No, I'm going to give you a loser. I gave him Detroit. The guy with the Eagles shirt on, I like Cleveland.
Strong
Yeah.
loser pick by Mike.
I got a guy. I actually got an Eagles fan here. He says Hurts, and he gives me 2 thumbs up. Right? I'm in on that.
I like that.
I think, look at that. You know what's funny, though? Josh, the Hurts, there he is right there. Don't take Detroit. I forgot their quarterback's hurt.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the quarterback's hurt. Get a refund on that. Although I said you had a Yankees hat on. That's why I gave you a crappy pick.
Oh, my God.
So he did come back.
There you go.
He came back, and I didn't realize that the quarterback was out. I forgot about that. You told me that yesterday. I should have remembered that. Dave Blau's the worst score. He's worse than Peterman.
Nate Peterman.
Nate Peterman is better than Dave Blau. How about that?
You really feel like that, huh? Wow.
Blau's awful.
I mean, Peterman went to Pitt, so I assume you like Peterman less than Blau.
Yeah, it's true. Real quick, couple things. I know we got McGarry coming up in a couple of minutes here. The Eagles signed Dallas Goedert, 4-year extension. He got a lot of money, man. $59 million, $34 million guaranteed. It's a big-time money. We're going to ask Adam Caplan about it. We'll talk to Sal Pal about the deal. It locks him up for 4 more years, and now the Eagles have their 2 top talents in terms of receivers locked up. They've got Devontae Smith locked up, obviously, as a rookie. And now they've got Dallas Goedert for the next 4 seasons. That is really going to be their offense now. They are going to have Smith as their number 1 receiver, and now they have Goedert as over the last few weeks since Ertz got traded in week number 7. Goedert has been one of the best receiving tight ends in football. He's got 214 yards. Now, remember, he left the game early last week.
Right.
14 catches. 214 yards. Now, I did all this math while I was having lunch today, so I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. Jeff Kerr put out a tweet, and I think my math was right. 14 catches, 214 yards in the 4 games since Ertz has been out. His target percentage has gone up exponentially with Ertz out. I love the player. The number's pretty big. I got to be honest with you. They paid him a lot of money to be the tight end. $59 million is what he's getting, and $30-some million guaranteed. So we'll talk to those guys. Adam Caplan at football at 4, Sal Paolantonio at 3. Sal Pal's got some interesting stats regarding this Eagles offense over the last couple of weeks as well. 609-403-0973 on the text board. 609-403-0973. Mike, that's a horrible pick. Plus, Nick Chubb is playing. Yeah, I said I gave the guy the pick because he had a Lions hat on. I mean, a Yankees hat on.
Same difference.
But he came back, and I told him to take the Browns. He's got to change that pick. Although at 11.5. No. Yeah, okay. Now he's going to hedge it. I didn't realize the quarterback was hurt. I forgot. Jared Goff is out. Sorry. All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City with the weekend review preview is coming up next. I know Mike's got a lot of football this weekend. Big high school football games. Sports Bash is brought to you by Matt Blatt Nissan. The all-new Matt Blatt Nissan now open Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township next to Home Depot. Online, mattblattnissan.com. Hey, don't forget, we are live today at the Bally's Fan Duel Sportsbook in Atlantic City. Great place, man. The kiosks are all right behind us here, man. They got a plethora of kiosks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 12, 15. They got 20-some TVs in my eyesight here. The beer wall, you can serve yourself. It's a great place. Watching football here on a college football Saturday must be bliss. All right, coming back with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Plus, in the Fan Duel Sportsbook here, I went and grabbed one of these sheets. I've got MVP odds right here. I got Rookie of the Year odds, and I see Devontae Smith. That is an odd that I might want to hit up. This Devontae Smith Rookie of the Years. You know what he is right now? Plus 5,000 at Fan Duel Sportsbook. Plus 5,000 is what he is. Pretty crazy. Plus 5,000 I can get him at right now at the Fan Duel Sportsbook right here at Bally. And guess what? If he has another big week, you know what you do? Yep. You take that 5,000 odds, you post it on Prop Swap. I'm doing that. Will you buy that ticket for me, Jonna?
Sure.
All right. McGarry next. Welcome back on a Friday, Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. I'm Mike Gill. Don't forget, Sal Paolantonio at 3 o'clock today. Also, Adam Caplan at 4. Right now, Mike McGarry, he's brought to you by Calvi Electric, now offering residential services for your home and business online. CalviElectric.com. We are at the Bally's Fan Duel Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City, where you can hang out all weekend long for great events all weekend. Football, it's Saturday. Great college football. Sunday, the NFL. This is a great place to watch the games, so stop out and make a day out of it here at the Bally's Fan Duel Sportsbook. There's Mike McGarry. Looks like got a haircut there, Michael.
Yeah, get sharp for the weekend, right? Big high school football weekend. A lot of games, championship games. So look good, feel good, I guess.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
the
You got
theory.
a lot of. You're going to be seen by a lot of people this weekend. Let's start with a couple of Eagles notes here. Dallas Goedert gets a monster deal, third highest tight end paid in the NFL. Do you like that deal for Howie Roseman and the Eagles?
Yeah, I do, right? I mean, it seems like every good team in the NFL has a good tight end. Goddard is young. You went through the numbers a few minutes ago talking about how he's been one of the best tight ends in the NFL since they traded Ertz. Big target, especially in the red zone, catch that tough third down pass. I like everything about it. And this is kind of the way football's supposed to work, right? You got a great guy, Ertz, at that position, and he moves on and he's replaced by another talented guy that you drafted. So, yeah, evolution of the position. I do like the signing for the Eagles, gives them some stability and something to plan around on offense going forward.
Yeah, and then, Mike, obviously now you got him at 26. You got Smith, the receiver that they drafted in the first round. It looks like that is the two guys they're going to start to build this offense around. You've got a young offensive line kind of starting with Mailata and Dickerson, and so it looks like they're setting who they want to build around on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, there's some key pieces there, right? Smith has looked great, each week, played great last week. So he's a guy that you would expect big things from. So he's a guy you expect to be there for a long time. You got Goddard. Now you got some running backs. We got to see Miles Sanders might come back this weekend. We'll see what he is. Certainly the running game, and I'm sure it's just a fluke or coincidence. All of a sudden the running game prospers or explodes as soon as he gets hurt. We'll see what he does. And they've got some young guys on that offensive line and mix in with some veterans. So, yeah, and let's face facts, the elephant in the room, Jalen Hurts has looked better, going forward. And as I've said, Jalen Hurts is going to look better with these guys around him. I don't know when we decided that NFL teams have to be carried only by their quarterback, but if you get Hurts, maybe he is good enough to be a guy who can lead you to the playoffs if you've got a Devontae Smith and a Dallas Goedert and a good offensive line in front of him.
Yeah, I'm wondering, obviously the Eagle fans are in a situation where, some want to win because they want to go to the playoffs. Others don't want to win because they want draft picks. But you got a league that is wide open right now. Atlanta lost last night, so they have now dropped. Actually, they were the 7 seed 2 weeks ago. They have now fallen below Philadelphia in the playoff race. What would a win this week do for Philadelphia?
Well, I think it legitimizes their sort of playoff hopes, right? I mean, we can talk. The numbers say they're in the playoffs, and even if they lose, they're still going to be in the playoff hunt. But if they're a legitimate playoff contender, to me, you've got to get a good win at home, and they don't really have a good win at home this season. And a win over the Saints, although it's a Saints team that's kind of beat up, but it's a Saints team, that beat Tampa Bay a couple of weeks ago. It kind of legitimizes them as a playoff contender and makes all the math sort of real, basically.
All right, Mike, I'm going to flip over to baseball where Zach Wheeler was the runner-up. Harper wins the award. Did you have any issue with either of those finishes?
I didn't have any issue. I was surprised that Burns won the Cy Young. I would have gone with Scherzer first and Wheeler second and Burns third. So I was a little surprised at that. Pitching, everybody kind of judges pitching by different stats and stuff like that. But I thought Scherzer had a slightly better year than Wheeler. I like the Harper. If I had an MVP vote, I had Rookie of the Year this year. I voted for. I didn't have MVP, but if I had gone MVP this year, I would have gone Harper 1. I was surprised at the other two guys. I would have gone Brandon Crawford 2 and Austin Riley 3. Those would have been top 3.
Now, what is your, I saw that Jim Salisbury's getting a little bit of grief because he put Soto 8th. But I didn't read the article, but I've kind of seen some comments on Twitter. I'm not a huge fan. Like Ohtani, to me, I would have given it to Guerrero because the team was in the playoff mix to the last day of the year. I don't like getting it to a guy whose team is not a playoff caliber or even close to it. I don't mind if you don't make it, but did you keep your team in it for the whole ride? You know what I mean? Where do you stand on that?
I'm 100% in that category. To me, it's the most valuable player, and obviously the valuable part of it can be defined, but I define it as a guy that helps his team win and achieve something. And Harper kept the Phillies in the playoff hunt to the final week of the season. I would have gone Crawford. He had a great season. The Giants won 107 games. I would have gone Riley. He had a great season. The Braves won the division. To me, I see Jimmy's point. I don't know if I would have voted him 7th, but Soto,
8th.
To me, he had that great August, September when the Nationals were completely out of it. They had traded everybody. I mean, they were literally playing out the string. So I kind of see his point. I don't know if I would have voted what you say he had him 8th. I don't know if I would have gone that deep, but my top 3 would have been Harper, Crawford, and Riley because of what you said. They helped their team win.
How do you feel about Wheeler? It was close. The guy from Milwaukee put Wheeler 5th.
Yeah, I think it was the guy from Cincinnati put him 5th. Yeah, it was the guy from the Cincinnati Enquirer put Wheeler 5th. I don't see.
Somebody texted in earlier that it was Charlie Goldsmith from Milwaukee.
No, I think that guy works for Cincinnati Enquirer.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure. He had Wheeler 5th behind the 2 Brewers pitchers. I don't know how you put Wheeler 5th. To me, Wheeler was, he was number 2 to me to Scherzer, and certainly no worse than 3rd. I thought Scherzer had a better year. I mean, I'm still an old-fashioned guy. I know wins don't mean a lot, but Scherzer was 15-4. Wheeler was 14-10. Scherzer had a better whip. I think he had a lower ERA. Wheeler threw more innings.
Could you imagine a time, Mike, growing up that the Cy Young Award winner won 11 games and there was a guy who won 20 games and wasn't in the conversation?
Yeah, it's crazy the way people look at baseball and stats, and really in all sports, but it's really focused on baseball because stats that we grew up loving and kind of judged players by. Now people tend to throw them out the window. Again, I think wins are important. As somebody I once knew, a guy, John Finger, worked for Comcast years ago, said of all the stats, I like wins because that determines who makes the playoffs. So that's my favorite stat too.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Real quick, yesterday there's a report that the Sixers would be interested in 30 players now for Ben Simmons. But here's the part of the report that really stood out to me, Mike, is that some of those players might not be available for a year or 2.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. We cannot. This situation cannot go on a year or 2. First of all, it doesn't make good business sense. Forget about what Daryl Morey said. Forget about what this article says. Right now, you have $30 million in salary in cap space tied up, just dead cap space, not helping you. You can't go on like that for a year or 2 and expect to be a successful NBA season. So that's no owner in America. Josh Harrison is a smart guy. He's a billionaire. He got to be a billionaire by not being stupid. You got to tell him, hey, we're just going to let this $30 million sit on the side for the next 2 years and not help us. No, this situation is going to be resolved after December 15th. In between December 15th and the trading deadline, it has to be resolved.
Mike McGarry says, book it. All right, Mike McGarry, there's a lot of choices tonight. Who will get your presents for the high school football game of the week?
I'm actually headed out to Wheaton Field in Millville. Going to see Ocean City play at Millville. A kind of a contrast in style. Should be a great game for the South Jersey Group 4 title. The Millville team averages like 40-something points a game, speed all over the field. Ocean City averages 34. That's nothing to sneeze at. They only give up 4 points a game, so you got that stellar D against the big time O. We'll see what happens.
All right, you got that one happening in Millville tonight, Group 4. Now, Ocean City was Group 3. Where they move up?
Yeah, they moved up. Now there's 5 groups in football, and Ocean City moved from 3 to 4 when they went to the 5-group series.
All right, and then, of course, big game out in Richland tonight. Maybe, a program-defining type of game.
Yeah, St. Augustine Prep in the state non-public A semifinal, hosting Don Bosco, one of the magic names in New Jersey high school football, coming down south for a semifinal. St. Augustine trying to get to that big school non-public final. That non-public final, those teams are not only traditionally the best teams in the state of New Jersey. In many cases, the best team in that division is one of the top high school football teams in America. So St. Augustine trying to make that final, which will be played next weekend at MetLife with a win over Don Bosco tonight.
All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. You got 2 non-public B teams, Spirit and St. Joe, also tonight. They're both on the road, which is rare for St. Joe at this point.
Yeah, and rare for Holy Spirit, too. Holy Spirit's got to go all the way up to Wayne, New Jersey to play DePaul Catholic in the semifinals. They're the top seed. It's a Spirit team that's playing better. 28-0 win over Hudson Catholic last week. 7 turnovers they forced. Scoop and score for a touchdown. Eric Roman returns the pick 6 for a touchdown. So the Spartans head in the right direction. And St. Joe, 8-2. Hey, St. Joe, remarkable program. Since the state non-public playoffs began in 1993, they've won 20 state championships since 1993. No other football team in New Jersey is even close. They're going to pursue another one up at Red Bank Catholic at Count Basie Field tonight.
And then tomorrow at noon, 2 undefeated. It's 11-0, 11-0. It's going to be an interesting one. Delsey hasn't lost in like 19 games against Cedar Creek.
Right. And we talked about Ocean City being a Millville, being a contrast in styles. This game tomorrow, big time contrast in styles. You got a Delsey team that's thrown the ball 28 times all season, runs that Delaware wing T against a Cedar Creek team that's the quarterback, J.C. Landicini, is thrown for more than 2,000 yards with the wide receiver, JoJo Bermudez, going to the University of Cincinnati. So a real contrast in styles tomorrow in Egg Harbor City.
Did I get your presence at that game tomorrow?
I will be at that game tomorrow. Millville tonight, Egg Harbor City tomorrow.
All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. There you go. A quick little weekend preview as we do on a Friday. He'll be back on Monday to take a look back at all the action. Mike, we'll talk to you then, man.
All right, we'll see you down the road. Thanks.
Mike McGarry's appearance brought to you by Calvi Electric, now offering residential service for your home and business online at calvielectric.com. Great high school football this weekend. Eagles, Sixers win last night. Flyers with a point. They lose in overtime. But right now, somebody can win an opportunity to be at Wednesday's 99 Bottles party. All right, first 3 people in, fastest fingers, you are entered for a chance to win Eagles Club Box seats, Flyers tickets, Sixers tickets, and more. It's all happening at 99 Bottles this Wednesday, Vagabond Kitchen Tap House in Egg Harbor Township. You must be present to win. First 3 callers in right now. Good luck. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. We are live here at the Bally's Fan Duel Sportsbook in Atlantic City. I'm Mike Gill. It's a Sal Pal Friday. Sal Paolantonio will join me in just a second. We're brought to you today by Matt Blatt Kia. They want to get you approved today. Matt Blatt, 6211 Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. I want to thank the Bally's Fan Duel Sportsbook for bringing out a smorgasbord of food here. I mean, they've got enough food to feed the entire casino today. They just brought it out over to our table location at Bally's Fan Duel Sportsbook here in AC. We want to thank them for that. Also want to thank Johnny G and the Burger Realty team over in Ocean City. As always on a Friday, they are kind enough to deliver us Sal Paolantonio right here on the Sports Bash Live. Sal, we're over at the Fan Duel Sportsbook. It's a beautiful place. And it's an interesting betting number on this Eagles team. It's good to have you back on this Sal Pal Friday. How are you? Well, you're usually hitting a plane. You got to hotel out of here, man. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say the groupies part, but there's some hangers on maybe here. No, it's this place is fantastic, man. We're here one Friday. Yeah. Yeah. We do it once a month here at Bally's Fan Duel. So when we do our February show, our December show, I will let you know the date of that, and we'll see if we can make that work for you. Yeah, by the way, Philadelphia +2, and we got some injury news in this game. We got all sorts of stuff happening. It looks like Kamara might be missing. A couple tackles might be out. So that number's kind of interesting here. But I want to start with first. You sent me a nice package that aired on, ABC 6, and I took a look at that thing before the show today. There's a lot of numbers in here, one of which, before we get to the offense here, number one in points per drive, and number one in third down conversion, Sal. That sounds like a winning type of team to me. Well, and I think a lot of that comes from what? Third down, having much better down and distance than having to throw the ball from behind the sticks. They're 3rd and 9. Now they're only 3rd and 2. That ability to run the ball has made these third downs a lot more makeable for them.
We have one. Let me better. Makes sense. Maybe another year. Is that where you came in? Get your great deal delivered.
For the first time on Hard Knocks, we got everybody we need to experience the NFL during the season.
Well, you also mentioned in your package that they are fifth in the NFL in rush attempts. I mean, how amazing of a turnaround is that after the first 6 games that they're one of the top 5 rushing teams in football, and that to me has turned the season around and has given us the ability to now think that this team has found an identity. The question, I guess, would become, is Nick Sirianni comfortable with this being the identity of this football team? Mm-hmm. Was just going to follow up with that, Sal, as 72 yards a game, Saints, Eagles over 200 yards, 2 out of the last 3, over 175, 3 straight. If you're Nick Sirianni, do you say, hey, you're the best at it, but we're going to show you we're better at what we do? Or do you have to say, you know what, maybe we don't run the ball as much this week, and we're going to have to put more back on Jalen Hurts' plate? Hmm. Couple things. We're talking with Sal Paolantonio, ESPN senior national correspondent. Of course, Sal Pal Fridays, every Friday right here. We like to chew it up and talk a little football. Eagles, look, they signed Goddard today. 4 years, they got like almost $60 million, $34 million guaranteed. I would imagine you want him to be a part of your game plan for that kind of money. Sirianni did say he is on track to play. One, what do you think about the deal and the commitment they've made to him? And now you got him and Smith together. And two, what makes Goddard different in the offense than maybe Ertz was? Mm-hmm. I do. Yep. Hmm. Well, I guess it remains to be seen. We've only got to see him for about 3 weeks. He got knocked out last week. So that's a good question. What kind of – no, not yet. No. Yeah. That's the Sanders thing is going to be interesting if he is active and plays. What role does he have? Sal Pal, you mentioned on your package as well, and I want to get – they have not won a game at home. They have not won a home game, but they do not get on a plane the rest of the way. They have statistically the easiest schedule left in the league. This is kind of set up for them. But this game here is a very important game. You got to start getting back to winning at home. And if they can do that, do you have to start taking their candidacy a little bit more seriously? Well, you said last week, too. You said they have to have the game in Denver. They have to have it, and they got it. Mm-hmm. Right. No way. All right, Sal Paolantonio here on a Sal Pal Friday. As we know, the Eagles and Saints, you can hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. I think most people would agree with you that if you want any thoughts of the playoffs, you got to win this particular game. So give us the breakdown. How's this game happen? What's it look like on Sunday? Who you got? Mm-hmm. Yes, by the way, they will be taking the Turnpike up to Jersey 2 straight weeks. It'll be Giants and Jets after this. They get a late bye, by the way. They still have a bye on the horizon in week 14. So this is a big week for them this week. Check out Sal Pal ESPN on Instagram, the matchup show. And, of course, Sal Pal Fridays, he'll be back here. And when we're back at the Fan Duel Sportsbook here at Bally's, I will let you know. And maybe we can make something big out of that and have a little fun here on a Sal Pal Friday. Spread they just brought out. That'll be worth the price of admission right there, man. Holy mackerel. All right, Sal Pal likes the Eagles in this one. Close one, they win. By the way, a lot of injury problems for this Saints team today. It looks like the 2 tackles could be in peril. Kamara might be out as well, so things are starting to line up, and we will see it all happen. Where will you be on Sunday? How about it? So look at that. The mothership is now putting the Eagles back on the priority list. All right, man. Well, I'll be down in Baltimore. I'm going to Navy tomorrow, by the way. I'm going to see East Carolina and Navy down in Annapolis. All right, man. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Friday for Sal Pal Friday. Thanks to Johnny G and the Burger Realty team. Thanks, Sal. All right. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. He likes Philadelphia to win the game. Close 28-24, I think was his pick. 24-20 he actually had. I'll give my pick later on. Pete Thompson is on his way here as well. Sports Bash is live. Thanks to Sal Paolantonio, of course, every Friday right here on the Sports Bash. A lot of information there. Now, one part about it, the Dallas Goedert stuff, I agree with the one part that sometimes the Eagles lock these guys up. But I don't agree with, I think Goedert has proven that if given more time, the last couple of weeks, he has been a big play guy. I actually think he's a better catch and run after the catch guy than Ertz was. I think what Ertz was so good at was his savviness. I think Goedert is a better catch and then run guy. He's averaging 14.7 yards per catch right now. And keep in mind, that is second on the team behind Quez Watkins. It's better than Devontae Smith. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. So the good news today, it looks like Goedert will play. We'll get the Saints side of things coming up in just a little while as well. We'll be going to New Orleans for an update on the Saints as they're in town. 97.3 ESPN Live at the Bally's Fan Duel Sportsbook on this Friday afternoon. On the other side, we'll go inside the Sixers. Paul Hudrick joins me right here on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. 26, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Will thanks to Sal Paolantonio, who just jumped on, of course, on a Sal Pal Friday, as he does each and every Friday for the football season. He'll be in Philly this weekend for Eagles and the Saints, which tells you what. Now, there's not a lot of great games on the schedule. I did see that yesterday, but that means that they know this game has some heightened importance in the NFC playoff race. The Falcons lost last night, which drops them to 4-6, means they have fallen behind Philadelphia in the playoff standings. An Eagles win this week would put them at 5-6, and depending on what happens around them, you're going to need a Washington win over Carolina. That would bump Carolina from the 6th spot, and then, the 7th spot. And then, of course, the Saints currently right now, they're in the 6th spot. So there's a lot of playoff implication games. We'll go over that a little bit later on. But right now, Paul Hudrick, we go inside the Sixers with, I don't know, Paul, maybe one of the most impressive wins of the season. I don't know what it means big picture, but we talked about it Wednesday, the fact that we didn't know where they were going to get one. We certainly didn't think Denver was going to be the spot. But, man, what an effort last night.
Yeah, it was a great effort. They took advantage of it. Quite frankly, the Nuggets are pretty beat up as well. I mean, they do have the MVP of the league, so that certainly was a big help, but they are missing some pretty important pieces. You know, Michael Porter Jr.'s out now with a back issue. Jamal Murray's obviously been out all season. So they were already pretty shorthanded as well. And so, but credit to the Sixers, because like you said, Mike, I still didn't peg this necessarily as a win, especially playing in Denver. That is not an easy place to play. So for them to come out with a win, it was impressive. And Mike, it was a team win, which I think is important. And it reminded me, the style of play reminded me more of what we saw before the road trip started. We didn't see them play like this in Indiana or Utah at all. It was a really encouraging effort. And I think, I don't know if it's guys getting some rest maybe, or what it was, or, you know, Tobias Harris is starting to look a little bit more like himself, and Tyrese Maxey continues to step up. Steph Curry looked more like himself. And, of course, Charles Bassey coming in and giving them so much energy. So it was just a really good team win, and it reminded me, again, more of what we saw before they went out on this difficult road trip.
Yeah, now fill the listeners in who maybe were watching football or were flipping all over the place last night. I mean, it was bedlam on my remote last night. There was so much college basketball, NBA, NFL going on. I mean, Charles Bassey comes in and gives them some really good run last night. So who is he, and what can we expect? I mean, is he a guy that they might have to take a look at, or is this just one of those, hey, we needed you and you stepped up?
Charles Bassey's a hell of a story. I mean, he's from Nigeria. He got found on the side of the road as a 12-year-old by a youth basketball coach. He was literally, this is a true story, like he was selling fried chicken on the side of the road, and a basketball coach said, hey, you're pretty tall for a 12-year-old. You should be playing basketball. And then by the time he was 14, he grew to be like 6'10", and then came to America in Texas and became one of the best high school players in the country. There were people that this is a true story. People compared him to Giannis when he came over. He chose to go to Western Kentucky despite being a 5-star recruit. I think he was like a top 20 guy pretty much unanimously, and chose to go to Western Kentucky, really dominated there. People thought he might be a lottery pick, decided to come back for a sophomore season, and then suffered a plateau fracture in his one leg. And I think that scared a lot of teams off in the draft. And I also think playing at Western Kentucky, maybe not playing against the stiffest of competition, also perhaps scares some teams off. So that's why he falls to the Sixers in the second round. But this is a guy who's talented. He's got skill. You see already defensively, I think he has, and I don't think I'm saying this and exaggerating, I think he has difference-making ability on the defensive end of the floor. He does stuff for a 21-year-old rookie that's not normal. There's a reason why I know a lot of people love Paul Reed, but there's a reason why Bassey got those minutes over Paul Reed. Bassey just understands defensive coverages. He's got unbelievably good instincts in pick and roll coverage. He's got great timing with his blocks. He's on that end of the floor. I think he's already way ahead of the curve as a rookie. Offensively, I think you saw that one play where he runs the pick and roll with Seth Curry. He has that little sidestep, finishes at the rim. He's got some skill. He's a little raw on that end. I think he's got some things he's got to figure out. But I don't think this is just a guy, Mike, who is oh, he helped them win a game in November and we're never going to hear from him again. I think this is a guy that can help them perhaps now and could be a factor in their future.
Yeah, I was wondering, where you saw him after, because you mentioned a lot of people like Reed. Reed is a more athletic, jump out of the gym, kind of highlight reel guy. If you watch Bassey, though, in college, he led their team. I mean, Reed was still a raw scorer even at DePaul. Bassey was their guy at Western Kentucky. He was kind of like the guy they ran almost everything through, so he's a little bit more skillful. And I was wondering if you thought that they might have to find a role for him somewhere, and what that role might be. Is he the third big man? He gets like 8 to 10 minutes, something like that. What do you see that role possibly materializing into?
Yeah, I think if everyone's healthy, he is the third. I think he's the third string center. I think he's earned that role. I would also add that if you find yourself in a difficult matchup, whether it's against a super mobile center that can stretch the floor, or just you have a really difficult pick and roll matchup with a guard and a big, Bassey's probably the better option than Andre Drummond in some situations. Now, I say that, but I also recognize that Doc Rivers loves Andre Drummond, and I think, just Andre Drummond, quite frankly, has not had a good road trip. He's had a pretty good season for them. He's done pretty well filling in for Joel Embiid, but this road trip, he has not been very good, just flat out. He just really hasn't been. So I think in some tougher matchups, Bassey might just be able to give you a little bit of a different look than Drummond, and that could be an asset. So I think as far as role, I think firmly when everyone is healthy, he is made himself the third string center. And I think, again, the fact that Doc Rivers already trusts him to this degree as a rookie speaks volumes. And I think that shows you, one, how the talent level of this guy for a guy you got in the second round, and then two, that he's smart and he has really good instincts on the defensive end of the floor.
Paul Hudrick, Liberty Ballers, is with us. And, of course, you can follow him at Paul Hudrick on Twitter. Obviously, we talked to this Wednesday. Oh, another day, more Ben Simmons. Well, yesterday, more Ben Simmons stuff, which apparently report that they have a list of 30 names they would be interested in. That, to me, okay, it almost means like, yeah, we'll take the all-star from every team. It almost adds up to. But the part of the report that stood out to me was some of the names on the list, it might be a year or two before they're available. What does that say to you?
I think that report said a couple of things to me. One, I think that number of 30 players it's them signaling to other teams, we still believe that Ben Simmons is a top 30 player, and that's how we value him. So if you're going to lowball us, just know this is how we view him as an organization. We think he is still a top 30 player in the NBA. People can agree or disagree, but that's what the organization, that's the message I feel like they wanted to send out. And to your other point about, it could be a year or two, that is also their way of saying, we are not going to trade this guy just to trade him. We want value. We want something that's going to catapult us into a champion, either something that's equal to Ben Simmons, that's going to keep us in a good spot where we feel we can contend for a championship, or something that's going to elevate us. We're not taking a step backwards. We're not going to take that step trade where we're going to take a bunch of draft picks. We want a player that can help us right now. I think those are the two biggest messages they send is we have this valuation on Ben Simmons and we're not moving off that. And if we don't get it, we're going to hang on to him.
Paul, you got yesterday, I guess Keith Pompey mentioned Jeremy Grant as a name. I think we might have heard his name about a month or so ago. He said in the article, some sides say, yeah, Grant, other sides say, maybe not. There's some guys in there, but would Grant suffice as one of the 30 names for you?
For me, he would be borderline.
We feel that he's repetitive with Tobias Harris.
Yeah. See, that's kind of what I've been told is kind of like the Sixers line of thinking is that they view Jeremy Grant as a 4, and Tobias Harris, you're already paying an awful lot of money to, and he is your starting 4. He is your guy. So I don't think they view Jeremy Grant as a great fit next to Tobias Harris. Some would argue that maybe he's better as a 3, and maybe that would work out better. Certainly defensively, he could make up for a lot of the things you're missing with Ben Simmons, with his length, with his versatility, with kind of his disruptive nature as a defender. Sure, I could see where he could maybe make up for that. I don't know that he is kind of the. I'll put it like this, Mike. For at least the way I look at it, I think if you make that trade right, let's just say straight, it wouldn't be, but if you just made up straight up Jeremy Grant right now for Ben Simmons, just to get him in the lineup, and so you're putting Jeremy Grant in the lineup over Danny Green, let's say, yes, you are a better basketball team with that move than you were before it. But I don't think you're better than the Nets. I don't think you're better than the Bucks. I'm not sure you're better than the Heat. I don't think you are one of the better teams in the league by making that trade. And from what I've been told, I think the Sixers think even like I don't think the Sixers would consider it. Quite frankly, I think I am not surprised to hear that Detroit would want to do that trade because I think Cade Cunningham and Ben Simmons would be a very intriguing combination to build around. But I don't see it for the Sixers. I don't think that is it. When you talk about that 30 list, I do not think he makes the cut for the Sixers.
Yeah, it's my understanding that Detroit is more interested than Philadelphia.
I think that's a very, very fair way to phrase that. Yes.
Right. That Detroit is the one saying we're interested in another. They want to get out of that Grant deal.
Maybe. I mean, that could be a part of it. But I think, too, with Jeremy, I don't know his age off the top of my head, so I apologize, but I believe he's like 28.
He was drafted in 2014, so
same year as Embiid, right? So he was a one and done. I think he is. I think he's around 27, 28. Ben Simmons is a couple years younger. He's locked in for a little bit longer of a contract. And yeah, again, I could see his skill set complementing Cade Cunningham's better than Jeremy Grant's does. So I totally, and not only that, if you're the Detroit Pistons, you're not attracting stars. You're not getting big name free agents in there. You have your star in the making in Cade Cunningham. You bring in Ben Simmons, who you could kind of bill as your other star. And then that also could put some butts in the seats, which doesn't hurt. So I think all of those things are factors for the Detroit Pistons. And yeah, I think you're framing, Mike. I think that aligns with basically what I've been told and what I think is that this is more the Pistons would like Ben Simmons than the Sixers would like Jeremy Grant. I think that's a fact.
Right. It's like the Pistons are trying to let people know out there, hey, we're kind of interested. Do the Sixers want to acquiesce? It doesn't sound like it. Now you wonder, you mentioned Cade and Simmons playing together. You wonder if the Sixers are saying you got to include Cade Cunningham in that deal.
Perhaps. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that helps the Sixers now, because as much as I'm a big believer in Cade Cunningham, I think he was very deserving of being the number one overall pick. And I think he does have a legitimate chance to be a perennial all-star type player, but he's not that yet. And I don't know when he's going to be that. So I think as far as a timeline goes, like we've discussed many times, I don't get the sense that the Sixers have any appetite for any type of step trade. I really don't. So I think when you're talking about a young player, that young player better be ready to contribute right now and help this team win a championship, because here's
the question then, though. I mean, how much do they I don't know if believe in, but you're talking about young player. Maxey, who's having an unbelievable start to the season, he's still only 20 years old, 21 years old. Like, is there a part of them that says, come playoff time, is he going to be this same guy? Our team's going to defend him differently, that we need to find? Now, Cunningham obviously wouldn't fit that bill, but do they need to find someone that has a better, more proven track record than Maxey, or do they just say, hey, we're just going to go into the playoffs with him and trial by fire?
To me, the way he has played, I think he's earned the opportunity to try to basically prove, basically he should get the opportunity to do that and not bring in like, for me right now, if I'm making a Ben Simmons trade, I think taking a point guard back that isn't a clear upgrade and a clear elite player, like a Dame Lillard type of guy, I think that's a mistake. I really do, because I think getting just a decent point guard or a pretty good point guard and then moving Maxey to the bench and perhaps lessening his role, I think that could long-term be a detriment. Because you also have to look at it like this too, Mike. As much as, yes, the Sixers want to win now, and that's a big part of the equation, and that's a big part of the equation and what they're looking for in a Ben Simmons trade, the future still matters. So this experience that Tyrese Maxey is getting, it's going to help him this year. It's going to help him for a playoff run this year. And it's going to help him next year when he's still here next year, and Joel Embiid is going to come back for another year and still be really probably in his prime. So the experience that Maxey is getting is pretty invaluable. And then on top of that, he's delivering. He's playing exceptionally well. So I hear what you're saying. If anything, maybe I think they look for a veteran backup, a guy that can just, if they need a guy who could just be a floor general and just kind of run the show for a few possessions, maybe that's something they look into. But as far as like, if you're going to trade for a point guard, if the Ben Simmons deal involves getting a veteran point guard, that veteran point guard either be coming in to back up Tyrese Maxey or be a clear upgrade over Maxey.
All right, Paul Hudrick, Liberty Ballers, and of course Sixers out west. They'll play Portland on Saturday night. They're back on Monday against the Kings. Wednesday, Golden State before they come home on Saturday against the Timberwolves. And of course, you can hear all those games right here on 97.3 ESPN. You can read Paul Hudrick at Liberty Ballers. Follow him on Twitter at Paul Hudrick. And, of course, he'll be back on Monday. We'll look back at the Sixers at Portland. And I would imagine new Ben Simmons news will emerge between now and then. All right, Paul, take care. Have a great weekend, pal.
You as well, Mike. Thanks, man.
All right, and, of course, here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN Inside the Sixers with Paul Hudrick, it is brought to you by Deborah Heart and Lung Center. When it's your heart, you don't take chances. Be sure, demand Deborah. Speaking of the NBA, I grabbed the outright odds here at the Fan Duel Sportsbook, Bally's Atlantic City. And the NBA champion odds for Philadelphia, 1,800. You can get them at plus 1,800 right now. How about putting that bet in for them, futures-wise? Hold on to that ticket and see if they make that big trade. And then those odds will go up. You'll have the 18-1 ticket, and that could get you a nice prop swap there. Eastern Conference champions, they're plus 950. And to win the Atlantic Division, they are plus 480. Brooklyn is a big favorite right now, and Brooklyn is obviously having a good start to the season. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. When we come back, we got I'm going to look at the NFL schedule. We'll tell you which games you got to root for this weekend. And 4 o'clock, Adam Caplan, football at 4. We're going to go to New Orleans in the 4 o'clock hour as well. We'll check in with Saints beat writer John DeShazier, who covers them for their websites, New Orleans Saints. Pete Thompson, Happy Hour Friday, and, of course, One Thought Every Game, Casey Joyner. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Don't go away. 349 Sports Bash Live. We're at the Bally's Fan Duel Sportsbook, Atlantic City. Great weekend to bet sports. You got so many college football games that are meaningful, especially the Michigan State-Ohio State game, which you can hear on Saturday here on 97.3 ESPN. Now, who do you like in that game, Josh?
Game at noon tomorrow?
Michigan State, Ohio State.
Yeah, right here on 97.3 ESPN. I mean, I like Ohio State to win, but honestly, considering you're at FanDuel Sportsbook, my favorite is actually the over on the game.
You like the over in that game?
Michigan
Now,
State.
the gentleman, there was a gentleman who came up to me. He wanted a lock, and I told him Detroit, and I was joking because he had a Yankees hat on that I gave him a loser.
Right.
If someone said to you, "Give me a lock this weekend," what do you got? What's your lock there?
Well,
FanDuel?
my FanDuel Sportsbook bet of the week is UCLA to cover 3.5 versus USC. USC is playing their backup quarterback, and they're without one of their best playmakers. So to me,
that's
UCLA.
a big game. That's a big game because, well, I mean, I guess it's not that big of a game. The bigger game is Utah-Oregon.
UCLA still has an outside shot at the Pac-12 championship game, but they would need Oregon to beat Utah and Utah to lose out.
Yeah. Well, see, I was thinking in the sense that who would Oregon want to win that game?
Wow, that's a good question. Because
like who helps Oregon out? Because Oregon is not a lock yet, I guess.
I mean they're still hanging on to the Ohio State win, and that Stanford loss still is an eyesore.
Mm-hmm. The other college game, there's like three of them this weekend that are kind of you got Utah, Oregon, Ohio State, and obviously Michigan State. What's the third one? You got the Arkansas's playing who?
Arkansas's playing Alabama.
Yeah, Arkansas, Alabama. So that's the teams that are all in the mix for the playoffs here. Now, I don't think Arkansas has a prayer to beat Alabama. So
no, but they could definitely cover because Alabama is not your usual Alabama.
There was one other game I thought on the college side. I'm out again. I'm on location, so I don't have all my stuff like I normally do out in front of me. Is there another college game that I
Cincinnati
thought there was like 4 or 5
SMU.
games this weekend? What is it?
Cincinnati plays SMU. That's the biggest game left on their schedule.
Cincinnati, obviously, yes. I forgot about the Cincinnati game. I think there's one other one that was on my my list of things that I wanted to kind of check in on this week. Get an East Carolina T-shirt on. I'm going to see East Carolina and Navy this weekend. There's no real college football playoff implications in that, but it's going to be kind of neat to go to Navy to see a game.
It's definitely on a bucket list for me, for sure. I would ask you, Mike, I don't know if this really counts as a game that you're interested in, but it's a game that could have impact. People are pointing to the fact that Oklahoma State and Oklahoma both have trap games before Bedlam next week.
Who do they play?
Oklahoma State's at Texas Tech, who ever since they fired their head coach, they've been just winning left and right.
Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. Oh, is that the game, too? Did you see this story that the Texas Tech radio crew got suspended for the game because they were so critical of the officials?
They were too critical, so they got kicked out. That seems ridiculous. Yeah. And then Oklahoma's playing your boy, Matt Campbell's Iowa State.
Yeah, I love that guy. Did you see did you hear the audio?
I thought the audio was hilarious.
Oh God, they ripped the referees a new one, and then they ripped the Big 12 commissioner, and then the Big 12 commissioner came over the top. Yesterday was the anniversary of The Rock's WWE debut. 25 years ago, he made his debut as Rocky Maivia. The Big 12 commissioner came in and just gave the smackdown on the Texas Tech radio crew. You guys want to criticize me? All right, you're not allowed to broadcast the next game. I mean, what kind of seriously? Notre Dame, by the way, plays Georgia Tech. That's the other game. Notre Dame plays Georgia Tech, and I know it's not a big game. Georgia Tech stinks, but Notre Dame has to win to keep pace in case somebody slips up.
Correct.
They're the 8th team.
Correct, because anybody in the top 10 right now still has the outside shot because there is potential for carnage at the top.
Yeah, because I don't think Oklahoma at number 13, I don't think that they're 12. I think they're 12 in the it's not the BCS. What's it, the college
College
football
football
playoff
playoff
rankings.
rankings.
Yeah, and Wake Forest is not, Wake Forest I don't think has a prayer either. But Notre Dame, because they're Notre Dame and they're number 8 right now, Georgia Tech's not going to help them, and they play Stanford next week. So that's really the only 2 things they got left. They don't have any game that can really help them. The only thing they can hope for is that they win out and everybody in front of them loses.
And it's part of the reason why people always say if Notre Dame was actually in a conference, they would have a conference championship game to kind of add to their portfolio, but Notre Dame wants that independence.
Well, part of the problem is a lot of the teams they played this year, USC's not as good as typical. One of the reason of they got their freedom, they have these games that they have built in, like USC, Stanford. Those teams are typically pretty good, and they're not this year. By the way, tell us our qualifiers, or did we already do that?
No, we didn't actually. You got Nate from Egg Harbor Township, Rachel
Nate
from
in Egg Harbor Township.
Yes, Rachel from Northfield.
All right, Rachel in Northfield.
And Anthony in EHT.
And Yoann. All right, those 3 are qualified for this year's 99 Bottles Party. We'll see all 3 of them, Nate, Rachel, and Anthony, over at Vagabond Kitchen and Tap House next Wednesday, or this Wednesday, Hey, Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Adam Caplan is here today on Friday. You just heard what Jeff Lurie said there. I have great confidence that our football operations people can get us back to where we need to be. Well, they took a step to that today, Adam Caplan. They have signed their tight end, Dallas Goedert. It's a 4-year, $59 million deal. It's got $30+ million in guaranteed money. So let's start with Dallas Goedert and that deal. Did you think that they had to get this deal done now? Should they have waited for it? Why they signed that deal at this point?
Yeah, Mike, good to be with you. Yeah, the reason why they did this now was that I would go back to the start of training camp. I was told that the Eagles were the ones who backed out of pushing forward to getting an extension done. Not his side. They actually wanted to get it done after talking in the spring. And then what happened was the Ertz trade really cleared this up. Because I had said all along on Inside the Birds, Mike, that it was going to be hard to get this deal done with Ertz on the football team. It's just hard. It's less about the money. It's more about Ertz being there. Because Ertz was taking away Goedert, not only his playing time, but his production. Once you cleared the decks, you saw Goddard's playing time go up. His production had been good, though. Unfortunately, he had the concussion, but he's been cleared to play, so he'll play. But it's interesting because the Eagles would have used their franchise tag, as I understand it. If they would not have gotten this deal done, they would have used the franchise tag on him. So he was going to go anywhere. It's a guy they love. This coaching staff has been in on this guy from day one. But these things take time sometimes. We've seen the Eagles do this, Mike, where they get these deals done in November or December. This is not the first time they've done deals late in the season.
Yeah, so what does this mean for, moving forward here, the future of this Eagles roster? Now you've got Smith, obviously, as your receiver. You've got Goedert now as your big-time tight end. It seems that they are trying to formulate an identity with those two pieces.
Yeah, so I would say it's kind of a broader picture. Okay, what's this roster going to look like the next 3 to 4 years? Well, Devontae Smith is a starter. Goedert is a starter. Mailata is a starter. We'll see how long Lane Johnson plays. Landon Dickerson is a starter. Isaac Seumalo will be a starter somewhere. Jack Driscoll might be a starter. We weren't thinking that way to start the season. It's been a pleasant surprise. Josh Sweat is a starter. And then defensively, other than that, Darius Slay will be here next year. After that, we'll have to see. Javon Hargrave should be a starter for the long term. I mentioned Josh Sweat, and that's pretty much it. So you got 6 or 7 guys you kind of know are the base of your football team. But other than that, Mike, I'm excluding special teams. That's pretty much it right now.
Yeah, I know that, a lot of people would say, hey, they got to focus on that defense. What you just said there kind of chronicles that defensive side of the ball needs a lot of help. All right, let's look at this game before we look at some of the matchups, how the injuries, Adam, might factor in here. Let's start with the Saints because their injuries are much bigger than Philadelphia's right now, and that's Kamara. Did not practice or play last week. Was out in the field Wednesday. Then he was a DNP on Thursday. What do we know about Kamara in this game on Sunday?
Yeah, Kamara, this is interesting. So what happened was he got hurt in week 9, didn't play in week 10, didn't even practice last week. Did work lightly on Wednesday, did not work Thursday, and the reports coming from the reporters who were at practice say that he was not there for their window to watch practices the first 20 minutes. Which would tell me he'll either be limited or won't play or didn't practice at all, which makes him less than 50-50. The report from New Orleans.football says he's got an MCL sprain. My understanding of it's a grade 1. He would not have been out on Wednesday to practice at all if it was worse than a grade 1. So that's generally a 2 to 3 week injury for running back. I would be surprised if he played. Now, here are the other big ones. These are both tackles. Tron Armstead is highly unlikely to play. He hasn't practiced in 2 weeks, knee and shoulder injuries. He missed time earlier this season with other injuries. James Hurst is their top backup tackle, will start for him. Andrus Peat is lost for the season of starting guard with torn pectoral muscle. He's been out for a while anyway. Brian Ramczyk with a knee injury, didn't practice yesterday. Wasn't out there earlier today. He might not play. This is a problem. Defensively, they're in pretty good shape with injuries. But, man, Kamara potentially not playing. Mark Ingram, by the way, would fill in for him. He's looked good. He looked like he was done with the Ravens. He doesn't look done here. He looks pretty good, and he would fill in. But he's not Kamara. Kamara's a special football player. And I would tell you this, Mike, Last year, the Eagles D-line dominated the Saints. And if these two tackles don't play, it could be a long day for their offense.
Well, I was going to say, the last couple of weeks, it seemed that the Eagles keep having this happen. Denver had some offensive line injury issues. Los Angeles did, although they didn't take advantage of him. Detroit had problems, but it seems that they keep kind of falling into this. And as you just chronicled, as we know, when the Eagles defense plays well, it's because they win up front, and having those guys out could really make that happen for them.
Yeah, they were not as dominant as they were, let's say, in the Atlanta game or the Carolina game where the defense took over and basically won the game for them, or the other game that they won. But I would say this. Yes, Carolina. Well, Denver last week, they were good. But they definitely are getting better. The secondary was good last week. Not great, but good. They did a good job. You and I talked on your show last Friday. The Denver's super talented wide receiver. But because of the problems with Teddy Bridgewater, and we saw him in the game, he holds on the ball, doesn't know where to go for it, and he gets hit, and he takes bad sacks, and it makes sometimes the defense look better than they are. And the Eagles, had their way, and I pretty cool in the Q&A show with Quentin Avant and Jason Avant. They did a good job of outlining how lucky maybe the Eagles secondary got because Teddy Bridgewater didn't always throw it at Steven Nelson, who gave up some space, but they didn't throw his way. I'll be interested to see if the Saints do that. And the Saints are not very good at receiver. They're very average. But you know what? Sean Payton's a good designer of offense. You can't sleep on the coaches on the Saints. So the Eagles have some advantages here. There's no doubt about it. But you can never completely trust Jonathan Gannon. That's been my issue with the guy all season.
Yeah, we'll see if he can put together back-to-back defensive efforts. That's
right.
Something we need to see. Let's go to the Eagles on that side of the ball. Miles Sanders, and get your thoughts on whether first they're going to play him. They were kind of unclear about that today. And if he does play, where do you envision his role?
Yeah, this is interesting. So Sirianni indicated on Wednesday everything was positive for him to be able to play. And he made it clear he was a starter. Not that there was any doubt. There was very bad fan speculation that he wouldn't be, which we did. Jeff Mosher and I discussed this on Inside the Birds. We kind of laughed. Like, yeah, you definitely want your best running back not to be the guy. I mean, because all of a sudden, well, you don't want to ruin everything. Like, what is he ruining? I don't. There's just been some bad narrative of Miles Sanders. Like, you want to criticize his pass protection occasionally. Sometimes he doesn't line up correctly as a pass catcher. He's also dropped some passes. Like as a pass catcher, I get the criticism. Some of it's warranted, but not as a runner. He's terrific. But here's the thing, though. I was surprised at Sirianni. Now, I don't know if this game is gamesmanship, but he said they have time to make the decision. He had 2 good practices in a row. Well, he actually practiced 3 days, so I don't quite understand why he said 2 practices. But they said that they're still going to think through a couple of things. I don't know what that means. Now, the deadline is Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern to activate him for this game. Sanders is acting like he's back, but I don't know. Did they see something in practice? I don't get it. And Sanders, remember, had a huge game last year. He had the 82-yard touchdown run, and they have nobody who can do that. That's yet another reason why they need him back.
Let's look at some of the matchups. Adam Caplan, Football at 4, the Inside the Birds podcast. Don't forget the Inside the Birds pregame show Sunday, 10 a.m. on the YouTube channel Inside the Birds with Adam and Jeff and the crew. They do a great job getting you ready.
And Twitter,
for the
too.
Eagles.
Yeah.
And the Eagles, by the way, are back at the 1 o'clock game, so you'll lead them right into that. Now, last year, Hurts had over 100 yards against this Saints team. Sanders had over 100 yards against this Saints team. So let's take a look at that matchup. The Eagle offense, especially the offensive line, against this number 1 now rush defense. They give up 72 yards per game.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a misnomer. If you look at who the Saints went up against, the running backs, most of them were not very good, except for Saquon Barkley. And Barkley was on his way to a really good game. He suffered this bad ankle injury, which has lingered for almost 6 weeks. So, but it's still good. They have a great front, maybe one of the best defensive lines in football. They're in fact, I'd say one of the best front sevens. Their linebackers are terrific, led by Demario Davis, who's awesome. They're generally are going to play 2 linebackers. They rarely play 3. They're going to play a lot of dime defense, more than most teams. You'll see 6 DBs in this game. Now, the one thing when you talk about Jalen Hurts is, and he had a great game last year when you consider he had 18 rushes for 106 yards. Now, last year, he ran the ball too much in that game. This is when he wasn't sure. This is his first ever NFL start. They did win the game. We made some good throws in this game. One Alshon Jeffrey for a big play. I just think that the way that the Eagles have run the ball, best in the National Football League, 190.25 yards a game over the last 4, they're going to come out running, mix the pass in, not the other way around, which they were doing earlier this season. But the thing they cannot do, Mike, is get desperate. If they're not starting off well in the run, you can't start going crazy throwing it. But the Saints are one of the top 2 man cover teams in the league in terms of how much man coverage they play. It's almost 50-50 zone and man. And when you play a lot of man coverage, receivers actually like that because they just have to beat their man. Now, the question is, will they double Devontae Smith? Last week, the Saints doubled A.J. Brown, and they singled up former Eagle Marcus Johnson, who had 5 catches for 100 yards, I think, so and including a 50-yarder against Marcus Lattimore. So there's some hope there. And look, they don't blitz a ton. They're somewhere in the middle. But there are a lot of receivers, Mike, who've had great games. Kenny Galladay had a big game. John Ross in that game against the Saints had a big touchdown catch. Cordell Patterson crushed him a couple weeks ago in that big upset win at New Orleans. Kendrick Bourne doesn't run very well, did. DJ Moore did. Chris Godwin crushed him. So you can beat their secondary because, again, they play a lot of man coverage.
Yeah, and I know that we were talking in a fantasy sense that the slot corner for the Saints is a guy to kind of go after, and you look at maybe Quez Watkins getting himself involved in this game.
Yeah, Quez Watkins is a vertical slot. No doubt. It's a great point, Mike. The thing is, they're great against tight ends. They're bad against inside receivers. Now, it doesn't mean you can't line up Devontae Smith inside, Jalen Reagor inside, who really has not gotten the ball very much, as we know. But there's going to be some opportunities here. This is a great tactical matchup. Dennis Allen, the great defensive coordinator for the Saints, and Nick Sirianni, who's done a very good job lately of calling plays.
Yeah, that's really hit on that real quick. Nick Sirianni done a really good job of calling plays. I guess the question is, they've run the ball the last 3 weeks. Is that now? Are they comfortable with that being their identity?
They are. They finally have identity. I'm glad you brought that up because we kind of laughed at Sirianni when he says they didn't have an identity. I didn't quite agree. This is weeks ago. The way he said it, no, they had an identity. They were throwing the ball too much. Now, I hate to say they're running it too much, but it certainly helped Jalen Hurts. That's why they did it, and it's been a great strategy. So they need to keep doing that and not go crazy throwing the ball. If it isn't running, don't start throwing the ball 35 to 40 times. Hurts cannot handle that. Throwing it in the 20s, he works really well off of it. He's part of that run game. There's no question about it. He's been real comfortable. I would argue that this is his best game as a professional. He put up better numbers last year against Arizona. But this game, he was under way more pressure inside, and he handled their blitz. He did a great job. Best game he's had against the blitz, no question.
Oh, I agree. I thought he was I thought he looked the most polished as a passer, most patient as a decision maker that I've seen him play in however many, 14 games so far. He made a couple of big time throws. He made a couple of big time decisions, and Adam, he made a couple of big time reads. Checking off, moving progressions. I thought he almost took 2 steps forward from what we've seen from him in the past. That's how patient he looked last week.
Yeah, and that's what Sirianni was. What he did is he went to the line, he saw certain coverage, he didn't like it, so he got them out of it. And that's really important for a young quarterback to be able to do that. And he's being coached well. Sirianni obviously is part of it. You have Brian Johnson, who he knows because Brian Johnson recruited him. He's known him since he's a kid. I mean, that stuff's important. You can't underestimate the relationship that quarterback has with the people that are coaching him, and he's starting to mature. And by the way, the other thing is we didn't mention, no offensive line right now is playing better than the Eagles. Now, I get it. This is a tough matchup. But just going into this game, the last 4 weeks, don't forget, they played well against the Raiders. It's not their fault that the defense was terrible in that game. Right. They ran the ball well, by the way, for 135 yards. They just got behind. But overall, Mike, the key to this thing is their offensive line. If their offensive line protects, there'll be some place in the pass game, and they will be able to run the ball a little bit if they can block up front.
All right, Adam Caplan, let's look at the Saints, what they do offensively against John Gannon's defense, and it's Trevor Siemian. I mean, we go back to, against the bad quarterbacks or the mediocre quarterbacks or however you want to classify these guys, yeah. John Gannon's defense has been there. Is this a week that just by the fact that Siemian is going to make mistakes and he's not going to be accurate all the time, does that make us feel that John Gannon's defense will keep them in this game?
Yeah, well, he's good. He has average arm strength. He's got good size. Not a very good athlete. You can go get him. The Eagles last year, Javon Hargrave had a great game, as Josh Sweat did. If those tackles are out, Simeon's in big trouble because he's not athletic enough. In fact, I do believe, and Taysom Hill was working today. He's got a foot injury. If he's active for the game, he'll do his usual red zone wildcat plays. They'll probably have, I could see 8 to 10 touches in this game to get some juice going, especially if Kamara doesn't play. Ty Montgomery's got a minor injury, who's their third down back sometimes. He's a former receiver you might remember for the Packers. He's now a running back and a receiver. So you can see him. They'll use him out of the backfield. But overall, I'm not worried about Traquan Smith. Now, I know 4 years ago, in 2018, he crushed the Eagles and Sidney Jones. Remember Sidney Jones? This is when he grabbed his hamstring. Some people thought he was faking it. That's another story. But Traquan Smith crushed him 4 years ago. But Marquez Callaway's there. Deontay Harris, by the way, don't sleep on him. He's their diminutive punt and kickoff returner who's had sort of a breakout season at wide receiver.
Hey, I guess every week you got to ask about tight ends because you would imagine that Sean Payton knows how to game plan for the Eagles linebackers. And, they're getting a little better. I mean, Davion Taylor's a little banged up this week, but they don't really have that, marquee. This is a kind of a committee, right? Yeah,
Adam Troutman was drafted to take Jared Cook's job. He got hurt in training camp with an ankle injury. And then Juwan Johnson, you might remember him as a receiver at Penn State. He's now a tight end. He's a pretty athletic guy, but he's still trying to learn the position. You're right. It's a committee. Nick Vannett will be their inside tight end, their wide tight end if he dresses. And, in fact, because of the way if the Eagles are getting pressure up front, you're going to see them play a lot of 12 personnel. They're going to have to keep a tight end in there or an extra blocker. There's a lot of tactical things for Sean Payton, the head coach who calls the plays, and Jonathan Gannon, who called a great game last week. I got to give him credit. And by the way, they did press coverage a little bit more. They're doing a little bit more each week. They're not great at it, but they're playing a little bit more. And you know what? I don't even know if they'll press this week because there's no one they're really probably scared of.
Right. Adam, I want to ask you about the big picture nature of this game. If the Eagles, they haven't won a home game.
I know.
If they get that first, right. If they get that first home win, they get to 5-6.
Yep.
What does that mean for where they kind of sit as an organization? Forget playoffs and thinking about that. But this is a team that won 4 games last year. The expectations were kind of low. It was, hey, we need to find out. If they get this win at home and get to 5-6, they're in the thick of the playoffs. What does it mean about where this organization is?
Well, they technically would, if they win and Carolina loses, and now obviously the Saints would lose to the Eagles. The Eagles would actually have a tiebreaker. Well, they would have a tiebreaker against Atlanta, New Orleans, and Carolina. But the big picture thing is that they're a little bit ahead of schedule. I had them for 7 and 8 wins. I do win ranges on every team. That would mean they're almost certain to beat 7, and maybe they'll get 8 or 9. This would be huge. We said this on Inside the Birds. I typically don't say this stuff unless it's like the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. This is a huge game. This is an NFC game. This is a conference game. And this is a litmus test game. You got to show up. The Saints have bad injuries. The Eagles have been terrible at home now for 2 seasons. It's embarrassing how bad they are. It's so weird. The first-year staff is 4-2 on the road. I don't get it, but it's a hell of a win last week. By the way, we were 0 for 5 on Inside the Birds pregame show. 0 for 5. We all picked Denver last week.
By the way, it's official. Kamara, Armstead, Ramczyk have all officially been ruled out of the game for Sunday for the Saints.
You better win it. Eagles better win it, Mike. Eagles better win it.
All right, there he is, Adam Caplan. Don't forget the pregame show on Sunday. They'll be live at 10 a.m. on the YouTube channel Inside the Bird. Jeff Mosher's back on Monday, and Adam will be here on Friday to get us ready for Eagles and Giants. You went 0 for 5, but everybody still wants to know, who do you like?
Eagles. I've been picking them all week, and I'm sticking with it.
Going Eagles. So we got 2 Eagle picks so far in this week. Adam Caplan will add you to the list. Adam, have a great weekend, man.
You too. Thanks.
Adam Caplan, Inside the Birds, the Inside the Birds podcast, and that cheer you heard in the background was from Pete Thompson, but not because he picked because the Saints were out. It's because he ate all my wings.
They were great.
They were great, he said. Thanks. I like that polo, Pete.
Thanks. Buddy.
That's a good polo. Oh, wow. I got I'm going with a little golf polo as well there, Peter.
Excellent. Yeah. Very nice.
Very not as nice as yours, though.
No, that's true.
Not as nice as yours. All right, Sports Bash is live, 97.3 ESPN. And Football at 4 is brought to you by Caesars Entertainment Group of Atlantic City. Come experience the ultimate sports destinations all season long. Wild Wild West, Tropicana, Harrah's Resort, Atlantic City. Book your game day experience today at Caesars.com. All right, when we come back, we're going to get more information on the injury situation in New Orleans. It's official. 3 big names out for the Saints. How will it impact this game? Next, here on the Sports Bash, live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 427. We're live here at the Fan Duel Sportsbook, Bally's Atlantic City. By the way, Pete Thompson
Hello.
joins me for the rest of the show as we do on a happy hour Friday. It's good to have you, Peter.
Thank you. Good to be here. My woohoo is because the guy that I'm playing in fantasy football has Alvin Kamara. So not only am I going to the game and I want to see the Eagles at home go, but now this significant news. I mean, this is big news.
I'm actually, my father asked me if I wanted to go to the game with him.
A late ad.
I'm going to Navy this weekend to watch Navy against ECU.
No kidding.
I'm actually leaving tonight when I get out of here. We're going to Baltimore, then we're going to Annapolis.
You know, my sister lives in Annapolis.
Great news.
Not in the Annapolis like they say in that Lake.
Hey, by the way, 99 bottles, another chance to qualify coming up at 4:55. Lou from Hamilton qualified earlier this week. He's actually one of the security guards here.
Oh, that's great.
I just met him. He introduced himself. He said, "Hey, I'm Lou from Hamilton. I qualified earlier. I'll be there Wednesday." Right now, here with us, John DeShazier is covers the Saints, New Orleans Saints, and obviously, John. Right before you came on, I guess we got some bad news if you're a Saints fan. Is that Kamara, Armstead, and Ramczyk? It looks like they are not going to play.
Yeah, that's a nice size gut punch. You're talking about one of the best running backs in the league, obviously, and a guy who's kind of stirs the drink for the Saints offense, and Alvin Kamara, and then the two tackles, Ryan Ramczyk and Teron Armstead. You know, for my money, as good a tandem as there is in the NFL. So to not have all three of them, and to go up against a Philly defense that really features a stout front. It's going to be tough sledding. I mean, and it was going to be difficult even with those guys. But when you remove them from the mix, now all of a sudden a little bit more responsibility falls on guys because if you don't have Alvin Kamara, you don't have that threat, and then of course you're missing two of the best blockers, and you need to be able to run the ball and kind of control the clock against a team like Philly.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Eagles' defense has been so Jekyll and Hyde, John. They've either been horrible, like historically bad in games against Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott. They gave up over 80% completions, Justin Herbert. So any quarterback that seemingly is on that next level. The games that they've excelled in are the games against the quarterbacks who were kind of in that middle ground here. So it seems that the commonality, though, is teams who have shaky offensive lines. And I guess you would say the Saints get put into that category maybe this week with those two guys out, would you not?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, they've been playing kind of mix and match along the offensive line really since the second or third snap of the regular season when the center, Eric McCoy, got injured, and then he was out for a few weeks with an injury, with a leg injury. And so they've just been kind of shuffling guys in and out and around this entire season. So now you get James Hurst probably at right tackle, and you got a rookie, Landon Young, probably at left tackle, and you got Calvin Throckmorton at left guard, and he was an undrafted rookie last year. So they're just trying to patchwork and get guys in there and hope they can get enough cohesion through the week to be able to function. But it's difficult when you don't have your starting offensive line.
Yeah. Kamara being out, I guess you'll see a lot of Ingram here. And then obviously the one area where the Eagles have had a lot of problems, John, on defense is the tight end. They have not done a good job of covering tight ends. And that's a spot where I guess the Saints are trying to still figure out what they want to do, right? I mean, the Eagles have done a really good job on the outside with Slay and Nelson. They have had a rough day over the middle with the tight end. So how is the Saints tight end game?
Well, they hadn't had a lot of production out of it. Whether it's Adam Troutman or Jawan Johnson, they've been trying to kind of piecemeal it, maybe a little bit of Garrett Griffin and trying to get some production there, but the production has not been there. Adam Troutman had some struggles a couple of weeks ago with drops, and so they just haven't had the yardage totals that you're accustomed to seeing out of that position. Now, last year Jared Cook had some big drops and some miscues, but Jared Cook was one of those guys who could get down the middle of the field, get down the seam, and give you some problems. And they haven't had that threat with this tight end group this year, and they're going to need it obviously against Philly because they're a little bit.
This is Pete Thompson. How are you, John? I want to know what the growth is or the maturity is that you've seen in Marquez Callaway.
Well, I mean, think about it, the guy was undrafted last year, so it's been a huge jump. He basically had to go into the fire and perform, and so he's done it. Now, is he a number one receiver, number two receiver? The jury's out on that. But he's had some production, and they've got a quarterback, Trevor Siemian. For whatever his issues were in Denver, he puts the ball where guys can catch it. So now he's got to get a little bit of help from his teammates because he's generally thrown the ball in great areas for his teammates where either they catch it or nobody catches it.
John, obviously the Saints very good against the run. First in the league, 72 yards a game. Eagles, first 6 weeks, lousy running the ball. Didn't even try to. Last 3 weeks decided, hey, we might be pretty good at this running thing and have been one of the top running teams in football all of a sudden. So how do you see that matchup working itself out here? Do you think the Eagles can move the ball on the ground and are willing to do it after not running the ball for 6 weeks? They ran the ball 3 times in one game, John, 3.
Yeah, but I think they've found their identity. I mean, last 3 weeks they've run for 209 yards a game. That's like Oklahoma or something in the wishbone. So, you put that in the NFL. That doesn't happen in the NFL. It just doesn't happen. And when you got a guy like Jalen Hurts, who is a quarterback and yet an extra running back, I mean, he can run it that way. And he gave the Saints problems last year, remember, his first start. He really gave the Saints issues on defense. And so if you're Philly, you got to figure, okay, we can run the ball against this team. We did it last year. You're doing it well now, so you're going to try. But the Saints have been great at stopping the run. That's going to be the key if they can do it with the front seven. If they don't have to kind of dedicate guys from the back end up there, then they can have some success. But if they got to dedicate the safeties up there, then, Hurts might be able to get them over the top a couple of times.
Well, John, I love that you mentioned the word Oklahoma in there because I spent a decade covering Nebraska football with Tom Osborne, right? So Tom Osborne used to say you have 3 phases in the game, the offense, the defense, and the kicking game. And I do a little research here, and I see that the Saints are making a kicking change. Will Lutz, where have you gone?
Yeah, he's been hurt this year, and I mean, they just had a revolving door at that position. And it's one of those things where, you kind of take for granted until you need one. And then all of a sudden it's a really big deal because, the Saints have had missed PATs this year. They've had missed field goal attempts, and it cost them dearly in the last game against Tennessee where they missed 2 PATs and ended up losing that game by 2 because they've got to go for 2 down the stretch, and then they jump off sides and it throws them out of whack on a 2-point conversion. But they just haven't been able to find a consistent kicker. And, when these guys come in and they bring them in, then all of a sudden you find out there's a reason they were on the street. There's a reason they're not employed in the NFL. And it's because, unfortunately, they can't kick it straight. So, they've been missing Will Lutz tremendously this year. They can't, he's out for the year. But it's one of those things where, like I said, you take it for granted until you don't have one.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. And I'll tell you what, Lincoln Financial Field's not like Heinz Field. It isn't like that wide open end where nobody seems to be able to kick the ball straight. And by the way, this has been a league problem. Even established kickers are missing PATs. They're missing field goals like at an alarming rate. But I guess they think Brett Maher could do the job for them.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to. I mean, he's the guy who's up on deck now. And, right now, I think I hate to say, I think the Saints will probably be satisfied with just making PATs and 35, 40-yard field goals. They'll be satisfied with that beyond measure because they haven't been able to get it consistently this year. And this goes back to the evil genius of Bill Belichick. He was the guy who competition committee, he wanted to move back the whole, PAT thing because he felt like it was, a play that was just too easy and you give him points away. And all of a sudden, he looks like the smartest guy in the room again for moving it back, and nobody's kicker can make PATs.
It's been a factor in a lot of games for the last couple of years since they added it. John, obviously, both these teams are kind of in the middle of this thing. The Eagles have not won a game at home since they beat the Saints here last year. It's amazing, that they haven't been able to win a home game in Philadelphia. But what is kind of the thought now? This is a team in the Eagles that won 4 games last year. They changed the quarterbacks, new coaching staff. Wasn't a lot of expectations. Here they are at 4-6, kind of in the middle of this thing. What is this game being viewed at down there in New Orleans this week?
Well, folks in New Orleans are kind of, I would say fans are kind of panicky. They're not accustomed to seeing the Saints be 5-4 and lose a couple straight. And not just that, 3 of the 4 losses have been games where you could quote unquote say the Saints probably should have won. So they could very easily be 7-2, 8-1. And so folks down here aren't accustomed to seeing that out of the Saints. They're accustomed to seeing this team be successful and figure out how to win games. And, I guess they took for granted again, you have a Hall of Fame quarterback who kind of knows how to win games, Drew Brees. You just kind of always feel like he's going to be able to pull your bacon out of the fire. you don't have him. Jameis Winston starts really good, but he gets hurt. And all of a sudden you find, you're trying to find different ways to win games. And so it's a process, and it's not always, a smooth process when you're trying to, mix in so many different people who you weren't even counting on playing extended snaps this season. And all of a sudden they're in prominent roles. So, the Saints are just still kind of finding their way, and they're just figuring out different ways to win. And so they're going to look for another different way to win against Philly.
Yeah, and obviously you had Breeze and then Winston, and now you're on to the third different quarterback. What kind of role do you think Hill has in this game this week?
Well, he's best when he's got that multiple use for this offense, or this offense is best when he's doing that, because you have to account for him in other areas, and especially if Alvin Kamara is not on the field, he really needs to be the tight end, slot receiver, take some snaps at quarterback where he's going to run it. He's got to have those multiple roles for this offense to be a little bit more effective, because they're just running low on weapons right now. I would say the best weapon they have right now is Deontay Harris. Deontay Harris was an undrafted rookie 3 years ago. And basically his first year, he was a kick returner. And now he's turned into probably the best receiver on this team, because you don't have Michael Thomas. And he's kind of leapfrogged everybody else onto that number one slot. So, they're depending a lot on Deontay Harris to kind of, pull them through, give them a big play, or at least provide a decoy for somebody else to have a big play. And maybe that guy's going to be Taysom Hill, who has that big play.
John, it's amazing. A couple of years ago, this team was loaded offensively, struggled defensively, and here we are a couple of years later. It's now flip-flopped, where you're saying an undrafted guy is the best weapon they have. They're very good defensively. I watched a lot of them against Tennessee last week. I mean, they fought really hard. It just seemed like, like a baseball team that can't get the big hit with a runner on second late in that game. It seems like that's where they are right now, but they fight really hard.
Yeah, and I think that's a good, apt description. They're a team that's going to fight you all the way down to the end, and now it's whether or not they can make that one big play to kind of seal it, or kind of, take it away from the other team at the end, and they haven't been able to do it the last couple of weeks. They have not been able to make that one big play to seal it or to take it away from the opponent the last couple of weeks.
John DeShazier is Saints.com, and, of course, the Saints are in town. They'll come marching in against the Philadelphia Eagles. 1 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. You like what I did there, Pete?
Marching in.
You see what I did
very
there?
Much
All right, John. It's great to catch up with you, John. We appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, there's John, and, of course, the Saints will be here. They were here last year. The Eagles beat them here in Philly. It was Jalen Hurts' first start. 82-yard touchdown run, Miles Sanders in that game as well. So 100 yards rushing for Hurts, 82-yard touchdown run for Sanders.
Possibility of Sanders this weekend?
Unclear still.
Right.
But we do know how clear it is for the Saints. No Kamara.
I know. That's amazing.
No Armstead, no Ramchick.
Yeah.
By the way,
the
Saints were 10-2 in that game last year.
Oh, yeah, that's
when they came here.
And they came and got a little dose of Jalen Hurts.
That's right.
Maybe they'll get a bigger one this Sunday.
Now, Pete Thompson, you got here right in time for the ganache.
Oh, I love the ganache. Well, you sent me a picture, so that warmed up the fact, hey, there's food here. The accelerator went down a little faster, coming down that AC Expressway, getting in here as fast as I can. So, look, I already had some wings. They were outstanding, and you're upset because you think they were your wings?
Well, I can't eat them while I'm on the air, so.
But I thought you had some.
No, she did.
Oh, well, that fooled me. See, there was some missing, so I thought you'd had some. So, well, there's wings in the other one.
There's two of us here.
Yeah, well, that's fine. And there's a lot of food, dude. Don't make it out like I ate all the food now. Come on.
Well, we'll be back with a little bit happy hour Friday style on the other side. And one thought every game with Casey Joyner. No Jeff Kerr today, so PT and I are going to.
Oh, great. It's going to be an extended segment.
Battle bots.
And I've already upset you because I ate your food.
All right, more sports match all the way here on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. All right, it's Happy Hour Friday here at the Fan Duel Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City, where we were treated with basically the entire menu. And that entire menu was provided to us by Giancarlo Generosi. How was that?
Yep, great job.
How was that there, Gianna? I didn't even hear you tell me. I just guessed. So thank you first for bringing us all this amazing food. Now, I said my go-to is the Curveball Club. But every time we've been here, that's been my go-to. But you topped it. You brought out everything. So give us a quick little rundown.
So the Curveball Club is great. It's got that butterball turkey, smoked bacon, lettuce, tomato, onion. It's got a pesto aioli on it with our house-made chips. We
those
have
chips, by the way, are delectable.
Yeah, we make those every day fresh. And then we have the – I tell you what.
If you're watching the video, by the way, you're seeing Pete Thompson eat the chips.
So it's that we house cure the corned beef here. It's delicious. And we put that, that house-made slaw on it, grilled Ginsburg rye, local rye. I mean, it's an awesome sandwich.
I'm a big fan.
When I have a sandwich in here, I order that one. I
big
like
fan.
It's tough to get a good
yes.
group, and it really is.
It is sometimes a little too tough.
Yeah. So, we get the brisket, we brine it, cook it, carve it up, and then put it on the griddle. It's great, delicious. And then we do our house wings here too. So you guys I think you had the Korean barbecue and the buffalo.
Correct. There's the Korean barbecue. Pete Thompson ate all of the buffalo. They were gone. They didn't last too long. But the Korean barbecue, I had a couple of those beforehand. Now, I said I can't eat them while I'm on the air, so he came while I was yapping and just started cleaning me out here.
You got your wingman over there helping you out.
So what's the, you said your go-to when you come here?
I like the actually.
Like if somebody's saying, I'm coming to Fan Duel this weekend, like you go to a restaurant for the first time. I've never been here before. What am I eating? So somebody's coming here to hang out to watch all the football games Saturday.
I look, on the lighter fare, I like the chicken quinoa salad, right? It's an Asian chicken salad. It's got quinoa. It's got some Napa cabbage. It has the snow peas, the julienne carrots. It's delicious. It's a lighter fare. If I'm going to come in and get a sandwich, it's got to be the corned beef melt. The corned beef melt is the one that we have that we brine the corned beef, carve it up.
It's really good.
It's delicious.
I had like a little sliver. I hadn't had the whole thing yet. We have like the other side waiting for me.
So like a good combination of both of those items is the chicken Caesar wrap. So you
which
get
is still over there.
The salad, right? You got half a sandwich there. So it's the salad part of your, called your lighter fare menu, and then it's wrapped up on the tortilla shell, and it comes with the house-made chips. Comes with that delicious. Have you tried the pickle yet? You got to try the pickle.
I did. I'm a pickle guy. He's not a pickle guy.
They're great. The pickles are great.
Pickle's really good.
And the house.
Got to have a good pickle.
Oh yeah, it makes the sandwich. It really does. It makes
that?
Good pickle makes the sandwich.
Yeah.
The pickle and the chips together. It's delicious.
Now, are you an Eagles guy?
Yes, I am. I'm glad to see that they're finally, making some better decisions on their run game.
So you'll like this. There's a guy here earlier. He comes in. He sees me talking here, and he thinks I know what I'm talking about, I guess. So he says, give me a lock for the weekend as he's standing at this thing. And I looked at him. He had a Yankees hat on. So I told him to take Detroit.
Yeah.
Well, who the hell says Detroit, right? I said, that's what you get for giving a Yankees hat inside the sports book asking me for advice. So I hope Detroit loses that bet for him, right?
So hopefully we see what they do this weekend against the Saints. I mean, this is a telltale game.
You just hear really Kamara's out.
Really? So that's
and their two starting tackles out.
So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, Josh Hennick back here in the Matt Black Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. Had a little technical issue. The guys were there. Now they're gone. So hopefully we get them back on shortly here, as they were just in the middle of their conversation, as Mike Gill just mentioned. Alvin Kamara, Teron Armstead, Ryan Ramczyk, basically arguably the three most important players for this team, the Saints, are all out. They're all out for this game. So definitely something to keep an eye on, because now the game, in my opinion, Josh and I back here in the Map Like Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN, there's an issue. And the issue is if you cannot go out there and beat the Saints now, then you got a problem. You have a serious problem when it comes to this situation, because if you cannot promise me that you are going to be able to go out there and do what you should do, which is beat a team that's beatable like the New Orleans Saints, then you got a serious problem with your football team. So this game now becomes must win this week. So hopefully we can reconnect with Mike Gill and Pete Thompson here in just a bit here on 97.3 ESPN. As we are trying to rectify whatever the situation
And,
is.
you know, they don't just come out of a bag like that. You got to put them in the oven.
Good to have you
know what
guys
I mean?
back.
Yeah. Yeah. They're fried in house. All right. Good luck to your son in the soccer game.
Yeah.
All right. There's John taking off with all the menu and all the great culinary delights, right?
Afternoon delight.
I don't know about that, but the food was outstanding.
It was. And he mentioned that beer wall over there. Now we got here.
So what was your favorite beverage?
They got the XPA.
Oh,
now
okay.
this guy here, he's got the East Carolina. I'm going to the game tomorrow. I'm going to Navy. There you go. Yep. See, East Carolina.
How about that?
My girlfriend went to East
Those
Carolina.
Pirates show
We're
up
driving to Baltimore
you never know
tonight.
where.
Yeah, we're driving to Baltimore tonight, then going to Navy tomorrow. Go Pirates. David Garrard.
Oh, he's
remember him?
No, not really. But, I went to Temple, the worst division.
Well, Dave Garrard, if you have half a clue, was the ECU quarterback.
Excuse me, are you telling me I have no clue?
Yes, he played in the NFL
How rude.
for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was their starting quarterback for about 5 years.
You can't segue from pump chips and drinks to David Garrard and expect me to keep up.
Well, it says on your business card, sports guy.
That's correct.
Well, you would think you would know the starting quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars for a few years there.
Oh, okay, not currently.
No, Dave Garrard was in I want to say the mid-2000s.
I think David Garrard I might have picked up for like a 1 week fantasy pickup.
Mid-2000s, yeah. He wasn't like a fantasy star.
No, he was terrible, but, East Carolina, nice place.
He went to ECU. It was. I was just in Greenville.
Thank you for coming in and
August.
providing fodder for the show.
All right, we're going to have another qualifier right now for the 99 Bottles Party. Here's your opportunity. All right, right now is your chance to qualify, 609-573-3776. Right now, get on the horn. First three people in, you're going to 99 Bottles. You have a chance to win Eagles club box seats, Flyers tickets, Sixers tickets, and so many more. We've got 99 Bottles, 99 tickets, 99 winners. Wednesday, Vagabond Kitchen and Tap House in EHT. All right, 5 o'clock straight up here, taking you till 6. And then, of course, game night tonight with Josh. This hour of the show, it's brought to you by Jenkins Heating and Air Conditioning, installation service and maintenance, plumbing, or drain cleaning, 641-6440, JenkinsPlumbingHeating.com. We're live at Bally's Fan Duel Sportsbook here in Atlantic City, where you can bet all the games, watch them all weekend long, and eat all the great food. Mike Gill, Pete Thompson, and KC Joyner's here for one thought on every game, and including a deeper look at what, in the last hour, KC, seems to be a different Eagles-Saints game all of a sudden. 2 tackles and 1 running back missing from the Saints roster coming into this game. Let's start with that and how that affects the Saints, losing Kamara, Armstead, Ramczyk.
It's very big for them to lose those 3 because, I mean, that's the core of their team now. This Saints team, I've been pointing this out for a couple of years now, and it just now seems to be getting this year it seems to be clicking in. They haven't wanted to be a passing team for a while. Yeah, it's a Sean Payton offense, but they have not wanted to be a passing team for a while. And they've been able to put up 140 or more rushing yards in 4 games this year, but they've only done it once in the past 5. And I've been pointing out also that Kamara, they were using him at a pace that if you looked at his track record, he couldn't keep up with that. They were using him at a true bell cow pace for running, not passing, because he can catch the ball a lot. But if you're running him 20 times a game, that's not what he can do. So now you've got Ingram, who I don't know that there's a back in the league who's done less with more carries than he has the entire year. So I think that their big playability took a huge hit with these injuries.
All right, so if they're missing their 2 tackles and Kamara's out, what is their offensive identity?
They don't have a choice. It's still got to be run the ball. They don't, and mind you, if you're looking at the Eagles defense, you're saying, okay, well, I mean, they can run the ball and they can throw short passes if the Eagles will sit back and let them dig a duck. I have a feeling, though, they're going to have to be, it's a catch-22 for them. They're going to have to try and go vertical more often. They're going to have to try and be more aggressive because I don't think, based on what we saw from the Eagles' ability to stop the short pass last week, they've been terrible at it the previous 4 weeks, but they were better at it last week. If they can't do that and they can't run the ball, they're going to have to go vertical and test the Eagles that way. But if you try and do that, you don't have the tackles to be able to pass block for you. So I really don't like where they're at offensively because I think they've got some significant limitations.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have that big tight end that really is a problem. I mean, the Eagles struggle against tight ends, but it's not like you're facing one of the elite tight ends in the league here. They don't really have Michael Thomas obviously is out for the year. They don't have that go-to guy. So who's the guy, if you are John Gannon, that you're game planning for this week, Casey?
I still think they'll throw some to Adam Troutman as their tight end. He's solid. He's not great, but he is a solid tight end. Won't be surprised to see him get 7 or 8 targets from the Saints. I'm definitely putting that on my mind for who I want to throw to. But who else are they gonna throw to? Callaway versus Slay should be somebody should go after. Deontay Harris versus who's probably going to be their split end against Steven Nelson could be a very good matchup for them because Nelson has struggled in coverage this year. He has not been anywhere near as good as he has been earlier. In fact, I'm looking up his numbers as we speak. Per True Media, over the past 4 weeks, he's allowed 10 completions and 13 attempts for 143 yards and 11 yards per attempt. So if I'm the Saints, that's a matchup I want to target. I want to go after Nelson and say, yeah, it's only 13 targets since week 7, so it's only a few games, but still, that kind of yards per target, I definitely want to go after that. So don't be surprised to see them go in that direction. But again, it's Deontay Harris probably, and that's not a very favorable matchup for you.
All right, I want to look at the Eagles. Obviously, have run the ball pretty much better than anybody in football the last 3 weeks. They're averaging, I think, like 215 yards a game. The Saints don't give up much on the ground. But can the Eagles win with their offensive line against the Saints defensive line? How do you rate that matchup?
I still like the matchup because I did an analysis for the Inquirer this week and took a look at the Eagles running game. And the thing is as Sirianni's been using this running game more and more, he's getting more and more creative. The things that you're seeing, there's subtle changes, but he's running counter plays where they'll have the center pull up for the counter instead of the backside guard. He's running different kinds of inside zone reads where they're giving you different looks than they would normally. They're doing they're doing inside read counter plays where they're pulling the guards and say the guard and center and guard and tackle, and then they're reading off of that and going the backside off of it. Doing a lot of really creative things that make it difficult for a defense to just say we're going to play you straight up, we're going to beat you man up. They're making the defense think about it. So I think that their offensive success right now is as much a creation of their creativity in the running game as it is just physical ability. So that's going to be something that I think is going to allow them to keep moving the ball. Don't think they'll keep the streak of 175 yards in 3 straight games going, which makes them one of only 3 teams this year to do that. But I still think they'll move the ball effectively on the ground.
All right, we know Goddard just signed that extension today. He gets 4 years, $59 million. So he'll be the Eagles' tight end. But will he be a factor in this game?
Looking at look some True Media stats, since week 7, the Saints have allowed only 18 completions for 150 yards to tight ends, 5.2 yards per attempt, only 1 touchdown. I mean, they're not a team you're going to want to target tight ends based on that sort of coverage. It's not a place. On the Eagles, I'm not looking to funnel a lot of passes in that direction. Maybe a few dink and dunks and things to keep them honest, but I'm not centering my offense on that. That's just not a favorable matchup for the Eagles.
All right, not a lot of room to run. Not the tight end game. Where do you go after the Saints defense? This isn't the Baltimore Ravens defense. Are we looking at from 2000? Are we?
No, actually, this is the game, and it's funny because I've been the guy preaching all year, run, and they do want to run, and they've got the creativity to do it. But if I'm looking at their coverage matchup, hey, Marshawn Lattimore is supposed to be the shutdown corner since week 7. 19 completions and 27 attempts. It's a 70% completion rate for 300 yards and 11.1 yards per target, and he's allowed 4 plays of 20 or more yards. He is a big liability. They're also switching between Paulson Adebo and Bradley Roby. They've got them rotating at corner, and Roby's as good as you'd expect based on his history. He's only allowing 5.4 yards per target in that time frame. But Adebo's allowing 10 completions and 14 attempts for 9 yards per attempt. If Adebo's out there, he's somebody you're going to want to target. But I really want to test that matchup for Lattimore, whoever he's facing, because he's given up a lot of completions to a lot of different people, and he's getting targeted a lot because he's giving up a lot of plays. So if I'm the Eagles, they threw 10 vertical passes last week. It's a good number, especially with how often you're running the ball. If I'm them, I want to see if there were a couple 3 vertical passes at Lattimore and see if those numbers are an anomaly, because I don't think they are.
All right. Obviously, last year in that game in Philly, Hurts ran for 100, and Sanders had an 82-yard run. We'll see how they use Sanders if they didn't make it clear whether he's going to play or not in the game. So I guess that remains to be seen here. But Jalen Hurts being a kind of a wild card in this game, he ran for over 100 last year. I think he ran the ball like 15 times in that game. Is that a spot where the Saints could be vulnerable against a quarterback taking off?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of when I was wrote that thing for the Inquirer. That was one of the things that was highlighted. That they're doing things that allow Hurts to do. You have to they're keeping the defense honest, so you can't oversell for the run, because they're doing things where he's keeping the ball off the back end on, like I said, on counter plays where he's going to do a counter and keeper and just go in the opposite direction. They're doing things with him to use him as control for the backside, but they're willing to run him on those plays. A lot of teams will do that stuff, and the quarterback is just window dressing, and the defense eventually figures it out and says, okay, we don't have to stop that. That's not the case with the Eagles. So I think that, but I like the idea that they're not funneling the run game through him. They're saying we're going to use him as a change of pace. We're going to use somebody to keep you honest, and we're going to make sure that he runs. If you don't, stay honest. But I don't think that they're going to make him a centerpiece for the ground game.
All right, we'll get Casey's pick and key matchup in this one coming up in just a little bit. But first, one thought. Every game, let's start with last night. We saw the Falcons. They get shut out last night, 25-0 against New England. And that's another big win for the Patriots, who now all of a sudden are a definite factor in that AFC.
They're a Super Bowl contender, and the Falcons. That's just that's the first time they've been shut out at home since 1988. They haven't been dominated that way in a long time. Mind you, they're missing Ridley. Pitts was somebody they could just double team all night. They're missing Patterson. They're missing the big play guys, but you got to be able to step up better than that. It doesn't speak well for their offensive creativity the way they played badly in 2 straight games now.
All right, one thought every game, Indianapolis at Buffalo. This one's still big for Buffalo now. I mean, this game becomes big in the AFC East for them all of a sudden. Who would have thought that division race was going to start to tighten, and Indianapolis needs this for the wild card?
I can't understand why I think this is there's a touchdown spread for the Colts. I think that they get a touchdown. That doesn't make sense to me because this is a 50-50 game. Two of the hottest teams in the league. Both clubs are doing it with powerful offenses, not opportunistic defenses. Indy scored 25 more points in 6 of the last 7, posted 2+ takeaways in all but 3 games this year. Buffalo, 31 or more points in 6 occasions, racked up 3+ takeaways in 5 contests. I got to take the Bills because they're at home, but I would not be surprised to see Indianapolis win this one. I think it'll be a very high-scoring game, too. It could be like 31-28.
One thought every game. Another one, Baltimore, who struggled when we last saw them on Thursday night. Chicago loses Mack. That's a big part of their defense. Fields looks a little bit more competent here, makes this game kind of intriguing.
It does, and Baltimore's defense has played terrible since week 5. Get this. Week 5, they allowed 513 yards to the Colts. They gave up 520 yards and 41 points to the Bengals. They allow the Vikings to score 31 points. They allowed the mediocre Dolphins offense to post 350 yards. Chicago found its groove against the Steelers in week 9. They had a season high in offensive yards and points. Their ground game's been in gear for a while, and that I like that about them. I would not be surprised to see them pull the upset, but missing Allen Robinson, he's doubtful for this contest, is going to hinder their offense, and they've allowed 145 more rush yards on the ground in 3 of the past 4 games, so I think the Ravens will run the ball and win.
Casey Joyner with us. Detroit off the tie. Casey is at Cleveland, and hey, the Browns getting back Chubb and Felton. It looks like so. You on one hand you go Detroit, maybe, and then you go, come on now.
Yeah, and not having, who would have thought that you'd want Jared Goff out there, but it looks like they're not going to have him for the contest. Had he been in there, I probably would have picked Detroit for the upset here. But because, I mean, they're fighting so hard and grinding it out, and I think that Cleveland is ripe for an upset. But I just think that because I think this could be a trap game for Cleveland. They've got Baltimore week 12. They got bye in week 13. You know they're desperately wanting to bye because they're a tired team. They got Baltimore week 14 too, so they've got all that to look forward to. This could be a game that they could overlook like the Steelers did last week. But the backup quarterback, I still got to take Cleveland.
And then Houston's at Tennessee. I mean, the Titans have been one of the surprises of the season so far, and that just looks heavily in favor of Tennessee.
It does. Tennessee's run games only posted 135 rushing yards in the past 2 games combined. So they are missing Henry, but their defense their front 7 is so dominant. And I think Houston will be better coming out of the bye, and Tyrod Taylor's going to play better than he did. But they posted a single-digit point total on 5 occasions this year, and I think this could be a game that makes it 6. So I'm taking Houston by a lot.
All right, Green Bay and Minnesota, big game in the wild card race for Minnesota, and obviously Green Bay trying to extend their lead in the North.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers looked bad last week, and it's a problem. But mind you, the Packers defense is playing fantastic right now. I wrote a thing for The Athletic this week, and I think since week 5, they lead the league in points allowed per drive. They're just, lead the league. You just don't think of their defense as being that dominant, but they have been. And Minnesota's defense stepped up some, but they've allowed 919 offensive yards and 59 first downs in the 2 weeks prior to last week's game. I think their defense is ripe for the picking, and I think Green Bay's defense will dominate. So I take the Packers.
Casey, you got Miami at the Jets, and the Dolphins, they've got that blitz-happy defense, and that won them a game against the Ravens, but do they make it 2 in a row?
I think this is going to, like I said, this is going to be a higher scoring game, I think, than people expected. The over-under in this game is only 45 points. I really don't understand that. I know it's Joe Flacco, but I think they'll let Joe Flacco do the same things they let Mike White do. New York's allowed 175 points over the last 4 games. They've allowed 430 offensive yards in 5 of the past 6, 26 or more first downs in 5 of the past 6, and 399 rushing yards over the past 2 weeks. They've only taken away 5. They only have 5 takeaways if you take away the 2 meaningless ones they had last week. As much as I think Miami is a flawed club, they're going to be able to put up a good total against the Jets. And again, this might be a shootout game because the Jets are going to have to pass to keep up in this contest.
All right, Casey Joyner, one thought every game. Let's go to Washington and Carolina, another one. Almost every game this week has some sort of wild card implication, but Carolina currently is in that spot. Washington, if they win, they're going to be in the mix here. They both pulled off upsets last week.
They did. Carolina, you've got the quarterback switch, and Matt Rule, I guess, came out today and said, yeah, Cam's going to take the first snap under center, but we're also going to get PJ Walker in there. I look at that and go, remember that old Madden thing that if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks? And I think Cam's going to be the guy eventually on that team. I don't like that situation there, but I mean, the Panthers' defense is their defensive dominance, the way they played last week, it's a lot easier to buy into as they backed up 3 more sacks on 5 occasions, held 6 foes to under 20 points, including their last 3. So I buy their defense more, and I think they'll win this one.
All right, Casey Joyner, one thought every game. Let's go to San Francisco, Jacksonville. San Fran looked good on Monday night. This is a team that, a lot of people thought might bounce back from all the injuries last year. Then they kind of hit a lull. Well, are they back? In Jacksonville, this is a team that, obviously is playing out the string. They look pretty good defensively, though.
They do look pretty good defensively. Had they not beat Buffalo a couple weeks ago, I might pick Jacksonville in this contest, or I might think it could be a trap game for San Francisco. But after Jacksonville did that, I think that anybody going there now is going to go, hey, we're not going to be surprised by this team. San Francisco getting back. I think their injuries, it's odd because their injuries are actually going to be beneficial to them now because they get Jeff Wilson back. Elijah Mitchell's probably not going to play, but Wilson's going to be fresh. He's healthy. They've got Kittle back, and he's playing fantastic right now. He's playing at the Kittle level. They still have Samuel. Ayuk's playing a lot better. When I look at that and see those big play players, and I look at Jacksonville and I look at Trevor Lawrence looking like he's hitting the rookie wall, and San Francisco being 3-1 on the road this year, I'll take the Niners.
Casey, Cincinnati's coming off the bye. They're going to be at Las Vegas at the Raiders. And I think the Bengals are an interesting team. They jumped out to that 5-2 start, and then they lose that bad game at the Jets, lose to Cleveland, have the bye, and have to sit and sulk about it. What do you look when you look at the Bengals going to Sin City?
Marty Schottenheimer used to say the key to beating the Raiders was to keep playing for 4 quarters because he figured they wouldn't play for 4 quarters. It's an indictment of the team. When I see the way that they played against the Chiefs in that Sunday night game, I saw a team where Schottenheimer's his words still live on today. I think they're a team that is just, I don't see them being a full effort team the entire time through. I think Cincinnati is going to be very fired up to come back from where they were. So Las Vegas could be looking forward also to its Thanksgiving Day clash at Dallas. I'll take the Bengals of this one.
All right, those are 2 teams that I just can't buy into either one. I don't care what they do. I'm not buying into either one. Dallas and Kansas City. This one's interesting. Obviously, Kansas City coming off its best performance of the year. Dallas is coming off maybe one of theirs. Dallas lost the week before that. Kansas City's been shaky before that. Now here they are.
I think Dallas got some problems with Amari Cooper. I mean, that's going to be that's a big loss for them. I know they've got a lot of playmakers on their team, but Schultz hasn't been playing quite as well at tight end. And if you lose Cooper, now you've got Gallup. Do you really trust him? And you got Cedric Wilson. Okay, you got guys you really can't count on. Now the entire offense basically funnels through CeeDee Lamb. And the Chiefs have been playing a lot better defensively. Their offense played better last week, but their defense has been playing a lot better for like the past 3 or 4 weeks. In fact, I think they're playing the best they've played all year long. So I think it'll be a close contest. Losing Cooper, though, I think is a pretty big hindrance to the Cowboys. So I'll take Kansas City.
All right, one thought every game. Let's go to Arizona and Seattle, which, again, wild card implications. Seattle loses this. They're going to be in a big heap of trouble here. Arizona trying to hold off the Rams in that West.
Seattle loses this. I mean, they're thinking about the draft. I mean, let's be honest. If they lose this one, they're going to be so far down. You're thinking this team I'm not saying they're going to be. It could be a top 10 pick. I mean, they're playing that poorly right now. I'm going to assume that Murray's going to play this week. I think it's still up in the air. I'm going to assume that he's going to play and that Hopkins isn't. Murray is very important to that offense, but the Cliff Kingsbury system is a lot more run-centric than people think it is. They've rushed for 144 or more yards in 4 of the past 7 games. They don't mind being a run-heavy team. And Seattle's offensive woes, they're not just last week. They were dating back to even before Wilson got hurt. They've been having some problems. So I'm going to take Arizona this one.
Boy, Casey, if you look at Pittsburgh and the Chargers, you look at the Chargers at 5-4, Pittsburgh 5-3-1. They seem like they're evenly matched. And I go to the stat that Gill loves the most, which is that the Steelers have only given up 185 points against, and the Chargers, well, let's just say more than that. Which way you lean into that game?
If the Steelers were healthy, I would be entirely behind that. But the Steelers are going to be missing T.J. Watt. They're going to be missing Minka Fitzpatrick. They're going to be missing Joe Hayden. And Joe Hayden's been a shutdown corner. And Fitzpatrick hasn't been quite what he was when they first signed up for the Dolphins, but he still is their center fielder and prevents a lot of big plays. And Watt has just been dominant. So I wonder where their pass rush is going to come from. I wonder if beyond Hayden, their secondary is not so good. Spoken as Steelers fans in this house, we cringe at the rest of their defense. And again, Fitzpatrick's not there in the back secondary, and you're facing Mike Williams, you're facing Keenan Allen, you're facing that offense. Yeah, I got to take the Chargers in this one.
All right, there we go. You got one thought every game. Casey will be back for Monday Night Football, which is the Giants taking on Tampa Bay. Can Tampa Bay really lose 3 in a row?
In
Find
Tampa,
out
that helps.
that game
Yeah,
on Monday night. Before we run, Eagles, Saints, let's get the matchup that is the consequential one, the quintessential reason one of these teams will win. What do you got?
Front seven of the Saints, can they stop this ground game? Because if they can, then they can go that way. But as I mentioned, the Eagles are going to be able to go vertical against them. I think the Eagles are going to be able to test their secondary and counterpunch them and say, you're going to have to play us honest. I think the Eagles will make them do that. And if you go just straight up Saints front seven versus the Eagles rushing game with the Eagles creativity and with all the different backs they have, all the abilities, all the different ways they have to go and attack in the ground game, I think that's the key matchup. And I think the Eagles will win that matchup and they win this game.
All right, Casey Joyner. If memory serves, that might be the first time you've taken the Eagles on this segment all year.
It's one of the few. I've taken them a couple of times, yeah.
couple of times. People are starting to turn around on the feeling of this team. It'll be a good one on Sunday. 5-6 New Orleans against 4-6. Excuse me, 5-5 New Orleans against 4-6 Philadelphia. You can hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Casey Joyner's back on Monday for One Thought on every Week 11 game. Casey, thank you so much, man.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, man. There he goes.
Good
Casey Joyner here on the Sports Bash Live. His segment is brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook inside Resorts Casino Hotel in Atlantic City. You know what we saw there? First appearance ever by Mrs. Scientist. See his wife walk around in the background there?
Oh, no. I thought his view was real nice, though. He had, like, the books and the volumes behind him.
She walked right behind him. And it was funny because there was a woman that walked
through here. Yeah, I saw.
Right, but she went this way.
And the woman in the video, Mrs. Scientist, went this
way.
No,
it was like one of those TV things. You know how they tell you to walk out of the screen?
Right.
If you're going to
walk out of the frame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Are you going to do Goodfellas? One dog's going this way, one dog's going this way. I like the painting.
Oh, man. All right, when we come back, jeez.
Hey, I didn't ask any questions about any kickers. Just relax.
Thankfully,
Thanks for writing that note. Like I needed a reminder. The Saints guy, it was legit.
No, the first question was fine.
Fine, the follow-up.
I'll
was
take a little much.
All right, that's fine. Get the gloves off. Are we beating each other up now?
Oh, we got a happy hour Friday segment. We didn't really have like a real happy hour Friday segment in the 4 o'clock hour, so we'll have to do it coming up.
All right.
Jeff Kerr is on assignment today.
Okay,
so he will not be here.
I'll ably fill in.
Great.
Like the speed bag.
Can't wait.
Get your gloves ready.
All right, coming up, Sports Bash Live. We are live here on a Friday, happy hour Friday, as we affectionately like to call it. And by the way, Josh Henning back there at the studio, did we get our qualifiers for the 4 o'clock hour? Do you have those people?
Yes, I do. You ready?
I am.
Mike from EHT.
Mike in EHT there.
All right, Mike.
I
By the
won.
way, Pete,
I'm
there's a lot
winner.
of dudes named Mike who are qualifying for 99 bottles.
That's funny.
Well,
Okay.
in the 90s, it was the most popular name in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the world, but in the America.
We also have
In the
Dan
America, right,
in the America. Hey, Dan.
All right, so Dan from Absecon and Mike from EHT will be
That's
joining
me,
us.
Mike in EHT.
Yeah, well, you'll be there too, but the other Mike.
It looks
the one
good
that-
on you,
yeah.
though.
Yeah, nice hat. Get a free bowl of soup with that.
And then the final qualifier is Francis from Dover.
Oh,
Francis.
don't call
Oh,
me
Dover.
Francis. You ever been to Dover?
Yeah.
I love that line. Francis, don't call me Francis. Did you ever see that band?
Yeah.
You did?
In fact, I saw them. They were playing probably 2 weeks ago when I got out of the STP show.
Oh, that's good. You went to the STP show?
Yeah, I told you that.
Nice. I remember you. No. All you told me was you know somebody that can help me out with tickets to the STP show. You never told me you actually went.
Well, wouldn't you put the dots together?
No, I didn't know if you got them or not.
What did you think I would?
Well, I mean, I guess. I don't know.
Come on, Peter.
Come on, Michael.
How about your concert tomorrow night?
Which one? The one I'm not going to?
Sports Bash coming back, 97.
Oh, you'll hear that story in a minute.
The free mobile app. 5:30 Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. I'm Mike Gill. That's Pete Thompson. It's Happy Hour Friday. Glad you're with us on this Friday. We're live at the Bally's Fan Duel Sportsbook at Bally's Atlantic City, where we've had a good day.
Yeah.
I've had a really good day. You've only been here half the time. Not your fault. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying.
I've been here half the time and had twice the fun.
You had
I inhaled your wings.
Yeah.
I love the pub chips. It was great. It was great.
We'll give you our picks for the Eagles and Saints. So far, Casey Joyner went Eagles, Adam Caplan went Eagles, and Sal Paolantonio took the Eagles as well.
I like the way that's trending.
Do you, though? When it goes all one way, then you know what happens.
Yeah.
Now, last week on the Locker Room Show, I think I was one of the only few people to take the Eagles.
Did you? You didn't pick
and
the
I picked the
perfect
game
score.
balls.
Oh, you had the game balls right. Definitely had the game balls right.
Both of them.
Yeah, I know.
Offense and defense.
Yeah, because I texted you during the game and said you were like clairvoyant.
Yeah. So I went to the STP show. You're going to a show tomorrow night.
I'm supposed to go to a show the other night.
What do you mean supposed to?
It's kind of a funny story. So, years ago.
Hold on. Are you going to the concert or no?
No, I've listed the tickets on the marketplace for sale. Here's what happened. Okay, years ago.
You bought the tickets with no intention to
Just
go.
wait a second. No, that's not true. Years ago, I've always wanted to see Simon and Garfunkel, but they don't really like each other.
Like
Simon doesn't like Garfunkel. Okay,
She loves me like a rock.
I guess when Hard Rock first opened, they were going to make a splash, and Simon and Garfunkel were booked.
They don't like each other, though.
But then the pandemic happened, and then that was
the perfect time to
the
do
end
a
of that.
concert when you don't like each other. You can't stand 6 feet next to each other.
Well, all I know is this. The concert, I had something lined up. It never happened. It got postponed, pushed, right? So all of a sudden, and I've been buying some tickets, by the way. I got tickets to Red Hot Chili Peppers at Citizens Bank Park.
Yeah.
I got tickets to Coldplay at Lincoln Financial
that
Field.
I'm interested in.
Right?
I already saw Chili Peppers.
I'm not
very good.
Right.
But
keep in mind, I'm just running through the tickets. I'm not necessarily inviting you.
I know.
Okay, so don't pull a Peter and invite yourself.
Don't worry about it, Peter.
Okay, thank you. So anyhow, because I've been on the Ticketmaster app so much, I get this alert about Simon and Garfunkel. I'm thinking like, oh my God, they're playing somewhere? Oh, this is amazing. So I start clicking through.
Yeah.
And I look and I see that it's in Montclair, New Jersey. New Jersey's a big state, bro. Right? So, I'm thinking like,
Not really.
It's big enough.
Not in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, it's not Texas, but whatever. So I'm looking through and I
get
realize
from one end to the other in like 3 hours.
I realized that, well, guess what? Montclair is 2 hours north of Galloway where I live. But still, I'm thinking that's above Manhattan. Maybe it's like a little intimate show or something. So I hit submit.
Yeah, where are they playing it? Playing at the college?
It's the Westmont Theater. It's like sort of on the artsy-fartsy street in Montclair. But anyhow, so I hit click, buy. And the total price for the tickets with all the fees and all the other stuff, $87.
So you got a deal.
So immediately I'm like, this can't be right. Hang on. And then I look through it. It's the Simon and Garfunkel experience. It's fresh off of London's West End. Now, mind you, I looked at the promo for the thing. I would love to go see it.
Yeah,
However,
I saw the Dave Matthews tribute guy. He was excellent.
These guys look and sound some of the reviews are it's the closest thing you're going to get to Simon and Garfunkel because they're not going to tour
This
again.
summer,
so
I saw the guys around here that dress like up like the Beatles.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of those groups.
But those guys are excellent.
To me, Rain is the best, but they have like Fab Forever and a bunch of other things. Yeah. But anyhow, so I buy these tickets, I get them, and then I ask a guy at work, do you want to go? And he says no. But the music teacher at school says, I would like to go. Okay, fine. I got a wingman. I'm in. We're good. Right now, I know I'm invited to the Eagles game the next day, but I'm thinking, okay, no problem. Well, then that guy backs out. And then I start to try and ask around. I did not ask you because,
you did not.
Well, but you're going to Baltimore.
You didn't know that.
Yeah, I did at the time. I felt it. Maybe you told me.
I just made the decision
I
yesterday.
just sensed it. All I know is this.
I literally said to her, because we're going to East Carolina Navy Saturday.
Yeah.
And I said, well, why don't we go to Baltimore Friday and instead of just driving to Annapolis on
I think
Saturday.
that's smart. Yeah. And that's really the ultimate decision for me. I would absolutely, if that show was in Atlantic City, hands down, I'm at that show Saturday
Well, I
night.
essentially saw
But
the
fact
Stone
that it's 2
Temple
hours
Pilots
north-
tribute band.
Yeah, except 3 of the guys were actually in Stone Temple Pilots.
Except for the 3 guys that were in it.
Well,
It was
if
just the
you
lead
saw
singer.
Scott Weiland, that's a hell of a trick.
Right. It was just Jeff Goot who just
Now, do they not? Is he a sound alike? I mean, because like Journey with that guy they found.
Arnel Pineda.
Yeah, wasn't he from the Philippines or something like that?
Yep.
And then who else was it? Was it there's somebody else that has a guy that they got from like Home Depot or Lowe's, right? Boston, I think. I think the rock group Boston found a sound alike, and they found him like on YouTube.
Well, that's the thing. Like this guy Jeff Goot.
That's a movie you would like, the Mark Wahlberg movie where he goes and plays with the heart.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jennifer Aniston's in it, too. I mean, you never see movies. Oh, not in the theater.
Right.
So you're not going to go see Ghostbusters this weekend?
I didn't even know there was a new Ghostbusters.
There's a new Ghostbusters out.
No, I did see that on.
The kid from Stranger Things is in it.
I don't know.
And then basically it's that, obviously Ivan Reitman is no longer with us, right?
Yeah.
So therefore it's one of those where they do an homage to, who these guys.
So are you going to the concert?
Oh, end of that story is no, I listed the tickets for sale.
So is anybody in the listening audience want to buy your tickets? Is that what you're saying?
Sure. I'll put
I'll put that out there. Simon and Garfunkel tribute band.
Well, I'm telling you, I mean, I should probably put in the StreamYard like the name of this it's like Simon and Garfunkel Experience or something. I looked at the YouTube thing. It looks outstanding. I mean, it really does look good. I just don't want to go 2 hours up, 2 hours up, 2 hours back.
Yeah.
Even if the show ends at like 10, I'm not back till midnight.
That's
and then
fine.
I'm getting up early the next day to go up to tailgate.
Well, I definitely think that if anybody out there wants to go.
The Simon and Garfunkel Story. That's what it's called. Yeah, I mean,
hello, darkness, my old friend.
There it is right there. Oh, my gosh. That price keeps going down.
What do you think about a person who their life is impersonating someone else?
I think that if you can do it,
but isn't it
more
amazing
power to you?
That people
think
who
about
look exactly like somebody else and then take on their persona?
That's a great radio topic, right? Have you ever been the Elvis impersonator? Have you ever been the mall Santa, right? I mean, like, think about all the people out there.
No, but it's like, somebody says to you, hey, you look a lot like this guy. And then, like, it's one thing to look like the guy. It's another thing to then be able to perform and sing the songs like the guy. Like, you almost have a doppelganger of both looks and sound. That's pretty unbelievable.
In which case, then, they wouldn't need to go get the original guy. I don't know. I look at it like this. You know what's funny?
Now, the guy from Stone Temple Pilots.
Right.
You asked me if he was a sound-alike.
Yes.
He tried to sound alike. Here, see, okay, so this guy, Jeff Goot.
This is interesting. What's his last name?
Goot. G-U-T-T.
Okay. Almost sounds like you're saying Groot, like from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Jeff,
I am Groot.
It's his name. Groot. He was on this TV show called X Factor, which
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
anything about.
All right.
I'd never heard of the show. I've never seen the show. So he was on the show, and he performed the song Hallelujah.
Okay.
So
that's the Leonard or Jeff Cohen thing or whatever. Jeff
Sure.
Buckley, whatever.
So, yes, Jeff Buckley.
Yeah.
Good pull by you.
Thank you.
Last goodbye, Jeff Buckley.
Yeah, all right.
No longer with us. So he sings this Hallelujah song, and this puts him on the map.
Okay.
And in this, show, he's got like black hair, and he's got like. So I'm watching him in the concert. His hair is dyed like blonde. He's trying to
look like Scott Weiland.
Right. And he's trying to. He doesn't sound like Scott Weiland on the X Factor show.
Right.
But now he's trying to
get that.
I don't think he did a bad job.
Pulled it off, or
I don't think he did a bad job. You're not Scott Weiland.
Right.
You don't have the stage presence.
And you won't be.
Right.
Now, that's interesting because, one of my favorite groups is In Excess, right?
Yeah.
And obviously Michael Hutchins no longer with us. But at one point, CBS did a reality show called, it was either Rock Band or Rock Star or something like that. And they basically had the surviving members of In Excess auditioning people each week for somebody who could sort of fill the shoes of Michael Hutchins. And they found two guys, and the guy, Marty, was like this blonde California-looking dude. And then they had this other guy with dark hair, this J.D. Fortune. And so they ended up getting J.D. Fortune to tour with him. And I saw him at Borgata, and I saw him at Showboat. And they were outstanding. And this J.D. Fortune had the pipes to pull off a lot of the songs and whatnot. Now, unfortunately, I don't think that they toured very long after that. I think there was like a 1-year contract, and they got tired of his act. And I think they're older. They didn't really want to be on the road. But I will not, I will not forget that moment at Borgata when the curtain dropped and the opening notes of Suicide Blonde started. And I'm sitting there thinking, I never thought that I would see, hear, experience In Excess like this again. And here I am, row 3, and the dude's right there.
Yeah.
You know, it was awesome. It was
He
awesome.
sounds like him?
He sounded just like him. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good.
It's a weird existence.
Being that guy.
Being the guy who's now.
Oh, that's what I was going to tell you. So you've obviously seen Toy Story at some point in your life, right?
No.
Okay. You know who Tom Hanks is?
Yeah.
Okay. He's Woody in Toy Story.
Thanks.
But my point is that the person that does a lot of Woody's voiceover work when Tom is not available is his brother, Jim. So what if you're that guy? You're not Tom Hanks, but you're Jim Hanks picking up some work. Or, oh, sorry, Ron Howard's not available. We'll take you, Clint.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's different from you are now the front man for a band that gained notoriety, not because of you, but now you're singing their songs.
But to me, I would rather have the sound alike than the look alike, obviously, like 100 times out of 100. If they can hit, if they have
I don't
the
care what the
vocal
guy
range,
looks like.
Right. I want him that's the thing. I want him to sound the way that the notes should sound or the way the music should sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like Stone Temple Pilots, when they fired Scott Weiland, they hired Chester Bennington.
Yeah.
And he didn't look anything like Scott Weiland.
Sure.
He tried.
Or all the different versions of Van Halen. Like, look, Van Halen it's basically, are you David Lee Roth or are you Sammy Hagar?
Right.
Right. But I don't ever hear anybody going, Gary Sharon. I really loved him.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Now, did you like John Mellencamp, John Cougar Mellencamp, or John
Cougar? Which one sang Jack and Diane originally? I think it was John Cougar, right?
Which one did you like the best?
The one that dated Meg Ryan. Meg Ryan now or 1975?
Right,
go. Jack Nicholson. It's Jack Nicholson now or 1975.
All right. So anybody want to go to the Simon and Garfunkel show?
The Simon and Garfunkel story is the name of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure somebody listening might be interested.
Well, right now they're still out there.
I love the fact, though.
They're on the marketplace.
Well, right now I'm about $87.
Yeah, I mean, not only did I know that something was up when it only cost $87, but then you go to try to resell them, and the most you're going to get back is like $50.
Yeah.
So look, right off the bat, you got no chance of getting your money back. And then it's, I forgot one big thing. You have to show proof of vaccination before you have to wear a mask inside, and you must show proof of vaccination to go inside the Wellmont Theater. Now I'm triple vaccinated. I had the Pfizer, and then I just had another Pfizer about 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay.
So, have at it, Hoss, but I don't know about everybody out there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Everybody's got their own path.
Well, maybe Antonio Brown could hook him up.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Or Kyrie?
He had a fake card.
Oh, he did have the fake card. I saw that.
That joke went over your head.
No, it took me a second to lock in. Look, dude, we're not all as clever as you, bro.
Just saying. The joke didn't hit as hard because you didn't get it right away.
I didn't get it right away, but you know what? I kept talking because that's what you do on the radio.
Yeah.
Silence does not work. The sound of silence, though, is the thing that will be played on tomorrow at the Westmont Theater, where I will not be.
If you want to
go,
Wellmont,
that's what it's called.
If you want to go, let Pete Thompson know. He's got a pair of tickets for you.
Sure, reach out.
Hey,
on
by
Facebook.
the way, you'll be at 99 Bottles. Speaking of which,
speaking of pairs of tickets, how about 99 pairs?
We got 99 pairs. All right, so we've got the Eagles Washington football team club box seats.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think we got 5 pairs of Flyers tickets.
Okay, that's good.
We've got 3 pair of Sixers tickets.
Good. They're hard to get now.
Yeah, they are.
It's funny when people are like, hey, can you get me tickets to Sixers? I'm like, I could have 4 years ago. It's a little harder now.
Yeah. Then we've got a bunch of other tickets. I mean, we've got some concert tickets. We've got some events at Boardwalk Hall.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, oh my God, we've got some really cool memorabilia, actually.
Oh, I like that.
We're entering into the mix this year.
Did a mutual friend of ours ask you this trivia question about the teams that are out there where the mascot starts with F?
What?
Was that trivia question asked? I'm just wondering if you already know the answer or not. A mutual friend of ours that likes to ask a lot of trivia questions. I know I think you can lock in on who this is, who just randomly walks in and spouts out a trivia question. Wanted to know the 4 pro sports teams mascots.
Okay.
It's either 4 or 5, but I think it's 4 if you start saying them all. Do you have any of them? I mean, you said one of them.
What's the question?
What are the pro sports teams whose mascots start with F? Like Frank, but that's not it.
Oh, their moniker.
Yes.
Begins with an F, like
Yes.
the Falcons.
Okay, there's one. You were just saying we're giving away tickets.
Flyers.
There's 2.
Flames.
There's 3. Very good. Now the last one may be hard.
Well, I don't know if it's that hard. I mean, it's a professional team, right?
I haven't heard you say it yet. Now this is where I get to see the smoke coming out of your ears. This is where PT enjoys things. As you tap dance. Dance for me, Gill.
There's only one more?
I believe there's only one more.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm trying to think, Pete Thompson.
Okay, well, maybe you should think out loud, like make a thinking sound or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Flames is the tough one.
Flames was a great one, but there's one even more difficult than that. Aha, there are 5. I was wrong. There's 5. There's 2 more. Yeah, you're perfect on yours.
You got
Shauna even got one.
49ers.
Aha! You can read lips. Now, will you get the 5th and final one? It's the hardest one out there.
Oh. Okay.
Why don't you stew on it over the break?
Yeah, we'll close out the show coming up next.
Maybe you'll have it on the other side.
I'm gonna give our picks.
Yeah, definitely. I'll give my pick.
Yeah. I'm
going to the game.
Oh, that means you're off the show on Sunday.
That is correct.
So you won't text me. What was your pick again?
Right.
All right,
I'm
close
here.
out
I'll
the show.
hear it.
We'll close out the show coming up next. Get ready to wrap up the show. We'll get our picks for the game. I'm Mike. That's Pete. Mike Gill Show on Twitter at PT973 or the PT.
That's correct.
973. All right, Peter. By the way, the final team with an F is the Washington football team.
That is correct. Yes, and Jana is disputing that. Says it's a stupid question or it's unfair.
Well, it has to be a new question because they just been called the football team
exactly
for 1 year.
A couple years or 2 years. Look, 49ers is a tough one too because people think of the 4, they don't think of the F. But Flyers, Flames, Falcons, 49ers, football team.
They're not going to be the football team anymore. Today officially the
Cleveland did change, right?
Changed their name to the Guardians officially today.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep, their website and everything is now Guardians.
What do you
now,
think?
did you see about that whole situation? That there's another team in Cleveland called the Guardians. It's like the roller derby team.
Oh, and they're upset?
Yeah, they actually tried to block it.
Funny. Did you know that Billy Schweim tried to block us at SNJ from using the name Locker Room for our show?
I know
because
this
he was
story.
all upset.
Yeah, and I said, Billy, it's not like the most original name I ever heard. He told me that he researched it far and wide. I said, well, there's not another show within
I also know that Billy's listening right now. So
that's funny. I don't care about that. It just,
I've
had this conversation with him. How the name Locker was not very original.
Right.
Now, I will say the name Sports Bash, I did not come up with.
Right. And yet it endures, right?
I didn't have much of a choice.
Was it a consultant that came up with it?
It's a long story, but I was not a fan of the name.
What would you have gone with? If you could name your own show, obviously just the Mike Gill Show.
Right. Well, when the show was on the AM dial, when it originated, it was the Mike Gill Show, which – oddly enough, people still say, like Sal Powell will come on and say,
he calls it the Mike Gill Show. Is that why? I never knew that.
I don't know. I mean, but a lot of people,
he doesn't know the name.
A lot of people still will say the Mike Gill Show.
Okay.
And maybe, my Twitter handle is Mike Gill Show. I don't know. But I did not pick the name Sports Bash. So if Billy's saying about that, you're right. I didn't come up with it. It was not me. So.
But I think you're creative in naming things and stuff. If you were to name it something,
shot in a beer.
What am I? Am I the shot of the beer?
There was.
By the way, on the sister station, I do listen to Free Beer and Hot Wings. I like free.
There
beer
was a station that had an afternoon show. It was called the Afternoon Saloon.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah,
all right, what's your pick,
up to the
PT?
saloon. I like the Eagles in this one. I do like the fact that they are running the football and looks like they had such a complete win there. I'm going to go Eagles 31, Saints 21. 31-21.
31-21, PT. I got Eagles in this game too. PT 31-21. That's a big one there. I got Eagles winning this game 28-20. My game balls this week are going to be Jalen Hurts and Josh Sweat. I think Josh Sweat, those tackles are out.
Oh, yeah.
I think Sweat gets a sack, maybe 2.
Maybe Barnett does something and not jump off sides.
There you go. Barnett's hurt. I don't know if he's playing.
Really?
But he looks good on you, though.
10 seconds.
So I got 28-20 Philadelphia. Game balls,
5
Jalen
seconds.
Hurts, Josh Sweat. Speaking of Josh, he's got game night up next.
Hank for promo, Mike.